everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 354. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by my boy with math powers and girl with emotion powers, Jesse and Alex.
So one thing I want to say before we start.
You immediately jump. Okay, all right.
No, this is an episode where we're going to talk about the movie Disclosure Day by Steven Spielberg. Spoilers.
Oh, there will be spoilers. We will talk about this movie.
Today is Disclosure Day.
Starting right 40 seconds ago. Spoilers.
Yes.
Starting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's going to be a fun one today because we're talking about a movie that is apparently culturally significant, or at least that's what we were told. And
I find this.
I can't wait to talk about it. I'm so excited.
I think it's culturally significant in a way that he did not intend.
Here, let me put it this way. All I know about what you guys think of this movie right now is like a very short. I literally was like, I guess I'm going to watch this tomorrow morning before we record. All I know about it from you guys is like just very, very brief thoughts on it from both of you.
I don't even know any thoughts.
Yeah, Jesse didn't say anything.
I don't know if you'd seen it. I don't even know if you'd seen it by the like when we were talking about it yet, Jesse. But I think you were like about to. Or
I was literally on my way to go. I saw it Monday night. You just saw it. You are fresh.
You literally are the freshest baby boy.
You came right out the womb, the Disclosure Day womb. You're right here.
I literally walked back from a movie theater where I just watched this film like a second ago.
Before we super deep dive into this, I also want to put forward, I don't know if this is on the shoulders of Spielberg or the person who wrote the movie, because I learned he did not write the movie.
Before you start, like doing a whole spiel here, I think we should simply go around really quickly and say whether it's something we enjoyed or it's something we didn't enjoy. Mathas, you seem to have a lot to say. We'll start with you.
I left the movie theater saying it was a 6 out of 10. And then when the more days passed and the more I thought about it, the more my opinion of it has gone down. And I would say I do not like the movie.
Okay. Alex, what
sort of quick opinions. I don't like it.
Yeah, really quickly, what did you think walking out of the movie?
I had no idea what this movie was going to be about walking in. All I knew going in was that Mathas didn't like this movie, so obviously it was all I was thinking about going in. I enjoyed it as a movie. Thought it was a great movie. Like filmmaking, writing, acting, those things. I know we're not going to talk about those things almost at all today, so I'm just going to say all of those things were great.
I will say, but those were the best parts. I know we're going to get into it, but the best parts of the movie, some of the best parts of the movie was the Spielberg angles and the cinematography and John Williams' music coming in and being like, because I haven't seen a lot of movies, but I've literally seen every Spielberg movie now, thanks to you showing me like Close Encounters. It's the only one out of my filmography that I had never seen. So like Spielberg is one of the only corners of movie world that I have a knowledge of.
If you're just a movie, like we're not going to get into it that much. We do an entire other show. We talk about movies more. But if you're just a viewer of films and you want to go see this movie, don't let anything that we say stop you. This movie is like a good ass movie. Like it's a good, well-made movie by people who know how to make movies.
We'll talk about it. I don't know if I agree.
I will say also that I'm shocked that Mathas doesn't like this movie. And I think that we're going to get into it, but I'm genuinely I don't know what the fuck you were expecting. This to me looks like a home run for Mathas. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll get into it. Let me hear Jesse's opinion. Then let's get into it.
This might be, and this is what's crazy to me. I walked out of this movie and I left in almost a dazed state in that I didn't know what to feel, because there is so much of this movie that I absolutely love, and so much of this movie that I was like, what on earth were they thinking? And I like couldn't understand. I like got home and just started jotting down my thoughts and then messaged you all like, I think we should talk about this, because there's something happening in this movie that is like, yes, okay, yes, I know what you're doing.
It's like our thesis on Aliens as a movie.
I genuinely came away thinking like, maybe Spielberg's too old. Like, I don't know why that's what I thought, but I was like,
No, but like the past 4 days I've been discussing this movie with my girlfriend and my friends, like kind of ad nauseum, because we have so many thoughts on it. And that was one of the opinions that me and another friend came away with, was like, maybe it's time for Peepaw to retire. Like, because the issue is, it feels like a movie that would be so much better in the early 90s or the late 80s, where modern day sensibilities, technology, and an understanding of culture and in the internet does not exist. Because in this movie, as serious as they play it and as modern day as they play it, none of what they're doing makes any sense in the context of what the real world is.
See, that's not the thing that I was concerned with. My issues with this film were micro moments that in any other sort of Spielberg-esque movie, I would be like, haha, that's a good one. But for some reason, in this film, with the stakes that are presented to us, and the way he literally said, I'm going to make this a grounded story in like alien disclosure, there were a lot of cartoony-ass moments in this movie, and some of them blew me for, like, a great example of a scene that I do not understand why it was in this movie, is when Emily Blunt is on her phone and is told, like, this thing is being tracked. And so she throws the phone out the window in the rain. And then she's like, back over that phone. So, U.S. Patriot goes to back over the phone, misses. And then, like, he drives forward, misses. So she gets out, she places it under the car, and then he drives forward. That is I'm going to say 3-minute scene. I don't understand why it's in the movie.
Thank you so much to ZocDoc for sponsoring today's episode. Now, do me a favor, everybody out there. I want you to raise your hand if you've been putting off a dental cleaning, maybe an annual checkup, or honestly, any kind of doctor's appointment. Yeah. Again, mine's up too, don't worry. You know, my move when something feels off is doom scroll symptoms, self-diagnose, all that good stuff. It sounds familiar, I imagine. You probably do it like I do. Well, this year, we're doing things differently. We're finding doctors we love and booking appointments at ZocDoc. Isn't that right, everybody with their hands up? That's what I thought. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, one of the other 200 plus specialties offered on ZocDoc, you can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. You want to see your doctor in person? Great, you can do that. If you prefer a video visit, you can do that too. View thousands of verified patient reviews to give you a real sense of who your doctor is. Maybe they hate small talk just as much as you do, or root for your sports team like you do. Is that like a thing you can, a sports team thing? Appointments made through ZocDoc happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. I use ZocDoc and you should too. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/chill to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/chill. ZocDoc.com/chill. Thanks again to ZocDoc for sponsoring this episode.
I think we really need to can I very quickly outline the plot of this movie?
Sure.
Oh yeah, we absolutely
just real quick, beginning to end. I'm going to try and lock it out in about 30 seconds and if you need to edit it, you can tell me. The world is about to go to World War III because of some sort of nuclear situation.
Something in Korea. Yeah.
Russia and North Korea have teamed up and they're both kind of pinching the borders of another country.
To be clear, for anyone who hasn't seen this movie yet, this is not a fact that is presented up front to us. This is
it's played in the background.
Line constantly played in the background of the news. That is not it is not. No one's saying this is a thing that we are all worried about.
None of these people in this movie have anything to do with World War III.
Right.
That's the whole. Yeah. But in the same way that if you just checked in on our world today in 2026 on June 17th, as we're recording this, it looks a lot like we're headed towards World War III. So too does this world, though. As the movie goes on, if you pay attention to that part of the movie, you can see that it's clear, behind the scenes, it says we're following two people the whole movie, but behind the scenes, it's getting worse and it's coming to a head.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the movie, it is this is it, we're all gonna die, that kind of thing.
There's a company that is a sort of catch-all for all of the various government contractors that we talk about on this show. That's kind of like a fake version of those companies. Josh O'Connor's character is a ex-con hacker who now works for that company, who has like just stolen all their secrets as a whistleblower. Emily Blunt is a Kansas City meteorologist, weather lady. And they are like the two parallels of the movie. In the actual organization, WordX, the company, which is, again, it's like government associated, but not government funded, much like we talk about here on the show, right? Like that's kind of the setup, because we don't have to tell people where their tax dollars are going, et cetera, et cetera. So that's sort of the setup of this. There's a schism, an ideological schism within the leadership of this company, where Colin Firth's character sort of represents all the sort of establishment characters who sort of have the sort of typical American response to something like this, which is like, can we shoot it? Can we make money off it? Can we test it? Let's hide it, whatever. And then we have Coleman Domingo's character from Walking Dead. What's that guy's name in Fear the Walking Dead? Can't remember his name.
Oh, I never watched Fear the Walking Dead.
He's like one of the dudes in Fear the Walking Dead. Coleman Domingo. He's like an amazing Broadway like actor. Whatever, doesn't matter. He is like the sort of other side of that conversation, which is the sort of like empathetic, sort of warm, almost like the woo. I think he sort of represents the element of like sort of hippie-esque woo that goes hand in hand with like jingoistic American militarism in the UFO sphere. You get like both of those guys in that world. They have split because the aliens that they have recovered from all the crash sites over time were very much in the setting that we thought we were in with a Disclosure movie. They decide that on one side, the humans can't know about the aliens because it will destroy society. We talked about this on Sinisterhood for a long time the other day about whether or not society's ready for aliens. And that seems to be the two sides of the larger ideological thing that they're going back and forth about. And they have the aliens and they have alien technology, and they can like warg into humans like in Game of Thrones using alien technology and all this stuff. And basically, they don't know exactly who's guiding them. It's very much implied that the aliens are guiding them sort of through sort of like some sort of mental situation through
Sleeper
this
agent-esque.
Yeah. So Colin Firth's side, the evil side, is like trying to stop them now because they're clearly going to blow the whistle and disclose everything. So they're trying to stop them, while Coleman Domingo's side is trying to like do what the aliens have come to do, basically, which is not just disclose the information about the aliens, but something else, right? And again, they don't really say what it is, but it's because it's not because it's a mystery. It's because it's an artistic choice not to say what it is. We all know what the aliens are about to say, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. And
that is not the concern for me, though. I do wonder for somebody who's not into the UAP stuff like we are, if any of that alien consciousness stuff made any sense to anybody.
Oh, dude,
like,
I think it's pretty straightforward.
For me, I'm like, it seems very like like you said, for us, for me, like, it's like, oh, it's like this magic MacGuffin. It's like, no, it's consciousness. It's direct consciousness related and stuff. But I've seen people, I've been in the reviews a lot, like just like user reviews of stuff. And they're like, they talk about like magic, like it's magic nonsense. And I'm like, no, so do you exactly. But that's what I'm saying is like, we know that.
The script is rock solid.
That's where I think one of the weakest points is the script feels like there's a really solid 20 minutes. And then they're like, and then 2 hours of middle has to happen.
Well, it's an action movie about
last 10 minutes.
It's an action movie about run from the government, right? Like, so there's a lot of that going on. Like, there's cool action sequences, and like some of those are a little weird. But I'm not going to get into the like nitty gritty of like criticizing an action scene right now. I just let me just get right through the. I mean, I'm like 2 sentences away.
Yeah.
So basically, they get to the end. They find out, the two people that have been running, this hacker and this news lady, it turns out that they were like chosen for this purpose by the one alien who's still alive. Basically, the alien who is still alive, who you don't see till the last moments of the movie, is trying to stop World War III. And he is brought these two humans together, imbued one with the power to communicate with the aliens, and imbued one with the power to like empathy machine, like a empathy generator. Like she has some kind of psychic powers where she can just know stuff that she knows about people by looking at them, right? She has no barrier to their knowledge. She says in the movie that she feels like she becomes them for a moment.
Very consciousness coded.
And so they get to the end of the movie and they find out that what happens is they both have these like traumatic experiences in their life. You find out that it's basically like what we were talking about, Mathas, with the lady who had the Christian version of an alien abduction. It's like very much like a fairy tale version because they're kids, and they talk about how the aliens appear to us as animals because it keeps us calm. And they do it like very visually. I don't think obviously all of us are on this. We knew exactly what the movie was going to be about before we got to the theater, but I was sitting there watching this next to a family of like a dad and his kids who was like actually a really good parent. He was like talking, his kids seemed very online. He was like a parent from like 15 years ago. I don't know. And, the kids were into the movie. The kids were like having fun with the movie. And when we walked out, they were like asking about aliens and asking like, so the aliens, like they're saying like, so the aliens, we don't see the aliens look how we want them to look. And they just talk to us through each other. And I'm like, okay. And I think a lot of people were saying that this movie is not a modern version of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
No, it's not.
But I would say, actually, I think it very much is, in the sense that obviously this is a fictional movie. Like, Richard Dreyfuss doesn't turn to the camera and say, they're keeping stuff from us. We must. Like, it's not like a call to action. It's not like a disclosure itself. It was never going to be that, obviously. But in terms of like capturing the sort of,
I'm so curious, Jesse, what are you going to say? I
thought that the sort of like zeitgeist of aliens offline, which is a big distinction, like, we forget that because we are so chronically online that the average person doesn't know anything about, like, the average person probably doesn't even know about David Grush.
Yeah, but that's not what this movie is about.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying the lore. I'm just saying the lore of what we know, the lore of real aliens. They don't know anything about that. This is a movie trying to explain to Johnny public a sort of updated notion of what's going on with aliens.
So, because it felt like it was Spielberg through the aliens being like, "Hey guys, love each other. That's empathy is the key." And also, if we all just knew the truth, we'd all get it and unite. Meanwhile, we live in a world where we're watching literal genocides happening on our phone every day, and there are people who still don't believe.
So your pessimism is what's stopping you from thinking this movie.
Well, hold on. Hold on.
That's what the movies say.
The movie exists in a world that isn't real, but the movie is about itself as real. Okay,
the movie is about pessimism. The movie is about believing in humans.
Go ahead. Let Jesse. I'm curious what Jesse wants to say.
I'm just going to jump in. This film is both brilliant and the stupidest movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It is a movie that, from jump, if you dig through what is trying to be told to you, if you ignore the script and you just look at the scenes that are occurring, there is a really smart flow of storytelling here that I think is supremely Spielberg. The movie starts with a wrestling match. That wrestling match is a spectacle. Everyone's watching it. They're caught up in it. In my mind, the wrestling match equates World War III. There is a thing that everyone's focusing on, and it is eating away at life. And people are like, yeah, right? And these aliens, the whole message of the aliens, of Emily Blunt, of Spielberg is like, hey, we need to learn to be more empathetic and listen to each other. That's literally the point of the movie, is listen to someone else.
One of the wrestlers was red and one of the wrestlers was blue, by the way.
Yes. So, and then there's a moment where Emily Blunt sits down with a North Korean man, or just a Korean man, and is having a conversation about Korea. And there's a whole moment where she's like, oh yeah, you just misinterpreted what he was saying. There's a through line of Emily Blunt's character is like, I am here to listen. I am the empathetic person. Everyone I meet, everyone I come in contact with, I use empathy to disarm them. That's how most of this movie happens, is Emily Blunt is just like using the alien powers to do this thing that is going to then lead the aliens to say, one, we exist, and two, our only message for y'all is just fucking listen to each other. And throughout the movie, they're like, hey, we're trying to be empathetic. The aliens, their whole thing is empathy. They're like, we don't want you involved in the
we don't
galaxy.
Want to replace God.
Yeah, we don't want you involved in anything. If you're going to not be empathetic, you're all little monsters down here. Like, great. That I love that through line. I love the idea of, the math.
Well, they're not saying we're monsters, right? They're saying we're not monsters. Like, it's just like, that's the whole point.
So
is about
a great through
believing
line.
We cannot be
but
monsters.
The problem is, and I think this goes to what Mathas was saying, this is a movie that is done by Spielberg in a very Spielbergian way, but it feels out of time. Like, this is a movie that I don't think, I understand why people are upset with this movie. Because it feels like it doesn't belong in 2026 in a world where everyone's more and more online, more and more things are happening. People don't even believe half the stuff they see or read or whatever. Yeah. So there's this huge disconnect happening. And it's interesting because the thing that I thought about at the very end of the movie is, okay, you have this character, Emily Blunt's character appears and says, I am gonna, listen, everyone, this is the thing. The problem I have is the entire time, just, thinking of first off, ignoring the fact that there is technically two villains, right? There's like the villain who's kind of I must stop them, whatever it takes. But also I want to see how this plays out. But then there's
Colin
the villain
Firth
who's like,
and his,
I will try to kill you with a train. And that guy straight up gives up at the end, by the way. He's like, what are you going to do? And he's like, nothing. Well, all right. And he just leaves. He was trying to kill them, not 20 minutes or whatever. Anyway.
He was trying to do his job.
The action scenes would have made more sense to me and would have been more fun if they were in an Indiana Jones movie. The villains they have the aim of a stormtrooper, and there's always enough time for the heroes to go to a back room, have a conversation, and escape out the window.
The insane thing, speaking of
so if the government just came and killed them all at the beginning, it would have been tight.
I mean, they almost did. That's how the movie starts almost. But
I know, but that's exactly what I'm saying.
What's crazy about the whole thing is I kept thinking, okay, the movie ends, and I know the message is like an empathy message and listening to people, and I'm down for that. I love that. I will never not love that. Great. Let me just set this up for you again. Let me just retell the story, but think of it this way. The aliens who, when they were young, kidnapped the two main characters and imbued them with these powers to unlock them like sleeper agents in the future. This alien, to be clear, most of the forward momentum in this movie is they have visions and or feelings to go a certain way. It isn't like this happens and then this happens. It's this happens and then they're propelled a different direction by the aliens. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what is to stop North Korea or whatever from saying, so you're telling me that this woman has been controlled by aliens and uses alien powers to manipulate humans into seeing dead loved ones or knowing about their past or knowing about what's going on in their life and using them, then comes on and is like, the aliens have something to say. I would be like, I don't trust them. That's a sleeper. The aliens are trying to take over. I was like,
this movie ends at the exact moment that it does, specifically because that line of thought is exactly what the aliens are trying to tell you not to do.
Sure,
they're trying to say,
but the thing is we would do
not
that.
Trust
humans would do that.
You're right.
No, you're saying humans wouldn't be able to handle disclosure, and the movie is saying maybe they might be able to.
I just don't think they'd believe disclosure, and they would do anything in their power to turn that to their personal advantage, the powers that be.
When we were on this show in the past, we were talking about what would it take? What would it take to convince everybody? And we said the aliens would have to come down in real life, right there in the moment. Mm-hmm. They'd have to show us all the evidence that they have, and then they'd have to, and it would have to be on the real news, not the internet, so that we know that it's real.
No, I don't. I disagree with the real news thing, especially at this point in our lives.
Let's put it this way: we want it to be,
but there credible. Is no.
We want it to be credible.
But that's so here. Here's my pitch. Right, it's not a Spielberg movie, but that's the crux of the problem with this movie for me. Is it presents this world in an extremely realistic way, minus the slight future tech, obviously, or this sci-fi, but it's so minor.
It's like alien. It's like alien tech. Right? Stuff.
But we live in a world where radical empathy, the way Spielberg films this, it feels like the message is empathy through an 80s lens. And we live in a world where empathy is like a crime now. And I would have loved to see the first 20 minutes and then the last 10 minutes be the opening of the movie. And then the realization that showing the world the aliens didn't fucking fix anything. And then they have to do this empathy in the face of adversity when the world doesn't believe them and try to still do the right thing by getting the message out, even when 30% of the world doesn't fucking believe them.
I think this movie is simple. I don't think it's a choice.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
an attempt at complexity. I think this movie is a fable. I think this movie is not about specifics. And I think that the script makes that very clear by nestling it in a human story that's very generic.
The problem is like, then set it in a different time period. Like, what's crazy is
why
you can't say it's a fable, but then present it like hyper real.
The villain's plan is to use alien tech, which I get because it's establishing what the tech can do. But he's using alien tech to like go into people's minds, and I'm just like,
his plan is just to not tell anyone about the aliens.
But they're a tech company. They don't have drones or hackers or camera like it isn't set in modern day yet. They don't have government. They don't have money. What do you mean?
What are you talking? He has a future room with like
private armies.
They don't have a private army. They have a security force. Let me tell you something about actual companies. Actual companies have all the capabilities that you just saw in that movie. If a company needed to, if a company wanted to mobilize and have people with guns, they could. There's a slight government contract thing, but they don't use any of the actual military in the film. Because it's
they say in the movie we don't want to use the military because we don't want to involve the government.
If they use drones,
they have dudes with guns busting down their hotel room
walls of screens of information, and
you're telling me they didn't cover the back door?
They don't use that to track them.
You can't present the villain as this hyper advanced, impossible to hide from, and then they just don't cover the back door.
Like, what are we talking about? Like, we're saying this is not a believable story. Like, what are we saying?
It's tonally at odds with itself.
Tonally, I don't think so. I think that if you look at any fictional construct of narrative close enough, you're going to notice that it's not set in reality, and that there's
come on.
No shit, Alex. Stop it. Like, I know.
Oh, hush you.
Let's talk about what's in the movie.
Sure.
Instead of why didn't they catch him sneaking out the back door and shoot him in the head? So that they good government assassins.
Let's talk about that. The movie is a series of scenes that are like well shot and well directed, followed by dialogue that is clunky at best. Like,
the dialogue is
a lot of the dialogue in this movie is literally podcast conversations we've had, but done movie style. And instead of it being like something that like takes over a scene, it's literally like two characters will stand there and have a conversation that, again, we've had or others will have, and that's fine. And that's a way to do it. But I think that takes away from the film. So it'll be like, they'll be like, all right, we need to have, like, I'm going to show you these aliens. And then we're going to have a conversation about what that does with religion. And then not till later do I genuinely think so. Like the conversation they have, the main character and the woman who's with him, who was a former like nun
training.
Jane. I
think was her name in the movie.
Jane.
And so
Jane.
And she sees these aliens. She starts to freak out, and she's like, I don't think we should tell anyone. And he's like, no, we should just let people decide for themselves. She's like, this could ruin religion, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought that I was like, that's kind of clunky. However, there's a conversation later on with her and her like nun friend, and I was like, that's actually a really good conversation that they had.
You found out she was gonna be a nun,
right? And so and
that she ended up not being a nun, not because her friend is like, you didn't lose faith in God. You lost faith in humans,
right?
Which we all did.
And
that's what the movie's about.
The scenes between her and the nun, I thought were always really good because that goes back to the core of what the movie is, which is about that human empathy. And there's flashes of brilliance in this movie. I just think the combined total, it feels like even from jump, like we are witnessing the middle of this, like there is no impetus. We're sort of fed bits of information as time goes on, which is fine. That's how Superman starts, like whatever. But in this case, it's one of those things where we are thrown in, and in order to be thrown into something like this, there has to be a lot of exposition. Not because, like in Superman, they don't do a lot of exposition because it's like, Well, you know Superman.
Well, we all
like,
know.
You know what
we
this
all know
is.
that guy.
The aliens, they have to do it because, Spielberg is trying to catch people up who may not be caught up. The problem I have with that is, I think, much like Superman, people kind of get aliens. And so when you dumb it down a little bit, it comes off a little cartoony. And that's what I got from some of these scenes where they're like the one scene where they're looking out the window and they see the deer. And he says a line that's like,
he's not about their stare.
He's like, they stare. And he's like, it's like they're scared, but they're not scared. And when I try to touch them, they run away. And I'm like,
but don't you think pull the camera out, they run or something?
But don't you think it matters? But don't you think it matters that like later you find out that the two people talking to each other both specifically have experiences being led into the woods by animals?
But they could have done that same scene with the deer looking at them and not had a weird dialogue choice. Oh,
it could have been a weird stare.
They had the birds earlier. They had the fox. If they had all these animals just show up, then later when it's revealed that the animals have been with them the entire time, cool. But they keep adding weird lines of dialogue to explain it to people. And it's like, okay, this to me, it's one of those they told, not showed things happens frequently in this movie.
We all know as Americans, if not global humans, race people now. I mean, I think probably we're a little bit behind the curve on this one. But we know now as Americans, indisputably, probably 85 to 90% of Americans now are aware of the fact that our government does not tell the truth to us all the time, which was probably not the case 10 years ago. Like, obviously, if you have your third eye wide open, we're like basically just a sort of like arm of the CIA that like isn't that important to the CIA. But like, if you don't know that, like, I feel like the general opinion of the government 10 years ago was like in America was very confident. We were feeling very much like we were the most powerful country in the world. We were feeling very much like we were about to lead the free world into like a golden age of like an Athenian golden age of like peace and like finally solving all those problems that we were going to solve and all those things. And then one thing has happened since then that has sort of destroyed our spirit as humans, especially as Americans, but as humans, which is this sort of rise of right-wing ideology and the Smedley Butler plot 2.0, which there haven't even been any books about yet, so don't come after it.
Smedley Butler hasn't shown up yet. Yeah. We need a Smedley Butler to stop this.
No, we have Smedley Butler. He's here. His name is Donald J. Trump.
No, Smedley Butler was the guy who stopped the rise, right?
No, he's the candidate, right?
He was the guy they tried to get involved.
Yeah, he's the golden boy.
Like, I ain't gonna do it, and I'll report you.
He was,
he was the good guy.
And again, we are not Trump copying from a book when we talk about this.
Yeah, it's like if Trump. This is us talking about that guy that actually happened.
I can hear the lawyer banging on the door.
Smedley Butler was like, if Trump was like, do that to America? No, that's what Smedley Butler was. So yes, he is the hero of the story, but only because he had like the base human decency that like most Americans have. Right. But what we've done, what we've watched in 10 years of news coverage and internet vibing and all this stuff is our own opinion of ourselves become eradicated. Like, we don't believe in America. We don't believe in the Democrats. We took 4 years in the middle of all of this shit to shit on our one chance out of here, Joe Biden. Now we would be like, bring Biden. Like, oh, even now, Biden now with cancer and like even worse dementia, bring him back. Like, we need him. Like, you know what I mean? I believe that this movie is using the idea of aliens, which are an interesting thing for everyone on both sides of the aisle, I think, right now, and clearly becoming something that is impossible to ignore, that completely hacks and destroys our entire system that we're obsessed with, right? Like,
I think that's exactly what's happening in this movie. You're not wrong. Again, like I was saying, the intro being the wrestling match is the metaphor. It is literally, we are all distracted by this unimportant, not necessarily real thing that is taking over all of our attention. And that is what the war in the movie is. My big issue is that the message on a like surface level, on sort of like, this is what we're trying to do, I absolutely understand, and I vibe with it. I'm like, yo, that's actually really smart. I like what they're doing. My thing is the A to B to C of how we go through the story to tell this message is insane to me. Like it is. There is.
I don't think
world,
it's insane.
Like, here's a great example. There are some scenes where it's like, we're in Kansas City, and like maybe I don't want to live here. I'm late for work, and so she's driving to work, and the whole thing's going on. Meanwhile, a war is happening. But wait, it's not affecting anyone in Kansas City, apparently. But the minute they drive outside of Kansas City and stop at one rest stop, people are ravaging the shelves. And in my mind, because here's what I was thinking the entire time. Okay, there's trouble brewing in the background. That'll be a thing later. But because it's always only in the background, when they get to that moment where people are destroying the shelves and taking all the stuff, my mind, I was trying to figure out exactly why they were doing that, and it wasn't until
I'm so glad you actually explained to me why, because I was like, so about that scene since the movie.
So close that people are freaking out. But the thing is that there's a disconnect, because everyone's saying war's happening. This is it. This is end of days. But the main characters are so caught up in this other thing that there is no World War III happening in their lives. It doesn't feel like it's affecting them at all, which I understand because aliens. But it's also
you're an American.
There's nothing happening right now.
There could be maybe a small change I could think of is like, what if you just added the little plot element that one of the reasons Wardex, which is the bad company, doesn't want disclosure is because they're about to profit off of the war. And they know if aliens come out, everybody's going to want to stop doing war. And that, like, all you have to do is, because, like, you're right. It's such a background thing. It's not silly because greed, and they even said at the end, greed and power is the reason you keep doing this and blah, blah, blah. It's like,
the enemy cannot believe that finding out about aliens will bring world peace, because then they're like evil. And I'm positive
that's what Wardex is.
No, they're not evil. Like
the main guy literally sits there and watches.
What's his name?
He's like,
even Scanlon, the fucking dude, I'm going to put a fucking thing in my mouth and somehow I'm British. Like, even this guy, like, he just thinks he's doing what's right because he thinks that his motivation, Wardex's motivation in general, is to propagate not just for this war, but like propagate capitalism, like the notion of capitalism. Right. They are literally stopping these people so they can continue to make weapons. But I want to invite you.
Alien.
I want to invite you.
They do show him torturing an alien. You're right.
Alien.
I want to invite you to think about this though. March 12th, 2020. I was at a diner. And I was watching the news, and I was having a chili omelet, and I was having a cup of coffee with my sister, and I was looking at the television, and it was talking about something called COVID-19 that was coming, that was going to be really bad in about a week. And I was sitting there, and I turned to my sister, and I said, "Oh, this is going to be bad, isn't it?" And she was like, "I don't know. I have no idea. I have to go to work tomorrow." So then, on March 15th, 2020, they announced that we were going to go into lockdown for just 2 weeks, just to let the incubation period of the virus go away, and not to worry, don't freak out, everything's going to be fine. We're not in World War III, things are going to be okay. And then on March 16th, 2020, when I went to the store was empty, and I had to wait in line for my groceries for 3.5 hours. And the next day, I went to work and I did my job. And like, yes, it's hard to imagine that when something as crazy as World War III is going to break out, that we would go about our daily lives. But I counter you with the notion that we are literally doing that. I was literally driving down the street, listening to City Pop today as the Iran war is once again tumbling down, as once again people are being murdered in Eastern Europe, and actually the notion that I can do anything about it is ridiculous, which is why we're so pessimistic in the first place.
I think
that's why we don't think disclosure would matter.
There's a lot to what you're saying, and I think I agree with you that the day-to-day notion of it just being on the background, again, I'm fine with that. And I think Mathas is onto something as well. The idea that at least it could have been like, oh, the reason we can't use XYZ to track them is because the military is currently using it. They could have just said that, thrown it away, and be like, don't worry, we have this thing.
They did.
That can do whatever.
They did.
But the thing that I think is interesting and that I think is worth talking about is the fact that this is a film where it had the potential to take a lot of like stands on things. And a great example. So as an example, and I think about this because I thought this is where they were going and they just didn't. And so in the movie, we see multiple times, even at the end when they show it to the world, these alien bodies, and they are just like mangled and nasty. They're from wreckage, whatever. And in my mind,
and
it's
being
like,
tortured.
it's just going to be like when, because the idea of paying attention and listening and being open and empathetic, in my mind, I thought they were going to do a thing of like, okay, so you know all the footage of all those kids in the Middle East that are dead, all the wars that we're involved in where people die and civilians are killed. I thought that I was about to be like, Spielberg is about to do like a thing here and say that, you know, replace the alien bodies with human bodies and you will that's the empathy, is we're trying to get you to understand that it isn't, the aliens aren't just aliens, they're us. And we need to stop seeing others as aliens and seeing them as people. I thought they were going to do a thing. But that's not the case. It literally was surface level. I think he did the very opposite thing,
which is, I don't think it was be good to each other like that. I think it was literally like, you think this is going to be another one of those things that we're just going to sweep under the table because it's so crazy and it's so insane. And the only reason that we don't is because, you know, the only reason we don't all freak out is because it gets swept under the rug. We don't care. We have to go to work tomorrow. Like what we were saying with Sinisterhood the other day. Why didn't Grush happen the way we thought it was going to happen? Is because he said literally everything that this movie, fictional movie, says that also like seems like it belongs in a fictional movie. Aliens were recovered from crashes. They are being reverse engineered. People have been hurt to cover it up. The aliens themselves have been hurt. The aliens have hurt us. The aliens are being treated inhumanely. Like all those things were said by David Grush, right? And, you know, if this was the movie, right, obviously there would have been like, I don't know, like 4K HD, like amazingly shot ILM shots of like aliens like spiraling out of space, like in HD from the cockpit of jets accompanying it, which probably would have done, admittedly, a little more. But the reason that Grush didn't hit the way that we thought it was going to as podcasters about UFOs is because it took about 6 days, I would say, maximum, where he was in the real news, right? Mm-hmm. Where people were like, there's a fucking guy who's about to say aliens are real on the news. And then he said aliens were real on the news, and then it didn't affect their day-to-day lives. So.
And also then what happened after that? Well, the government did what it did, and like his mental health records got released, and his relationship with his ex got, like, things that competent government does to discredit him happened. Right. And that, I don't know, it just felt, I have a lot of critiques of the movie, but like that was just one of them. It's like the villains are presented as competent, and then in the face of actually capturing anybody, they're incompetent.
It's because Noah Scanlon, the head of Wardex, is literally being chastised and second guessed throughout the movie by everybody who works for him, and Hugo Wakefield, the like science director. They're like, what are you doing? You don't have the authority to do this. You can't do this. The government ever finds out about this, you're fucking cooked. Like, what are you fucking doing? This is not how this works. It's like it's like Tuesday, whatever, the day the Cardinal showed up, he suddenly decided to, you know, I guess probably the inciting incident for him was when Kellner took all. Yeah, I mean, like
his best friend essentially betrays him.
Until that, Kellner,
and he kind of loses
Josh O'Connor,
and then his best friend betrays him because he kind of loses it. And
I'm just talking about the first day of the movie.
Sure,
when
but I'm talking about like the setup to that is his best friend leaves and forms a sort of like rogue group simply because he watched his friend lose his humanity. And I mean, again, there's things in this movie that I'm like, okay, yes, I vibe with this. I like that. But there's also moments where they set up stakes. And then again, they
I just think before the movie started, I don't think that this guy Colin Firth was like shooting people all the time and driving around and killing people.
I don't think he's that type of villain.
I think that's
However, I think he's a this week who is that type of villain. And the crazy thing about this movie is the way they set them up is very, very similar to the way the bad guys, air quotes, are set up in E.T. And that they aren't necessarily bad guys. They're just dudes doing their job for the FBI or whatever in that movie. And they're trying to stop E.T. from getting home. And then when E.T. gets home, no harm, no foul. We're not going to talk about anything else anymore. It doesn't matter. And this is the same vibe where it's like, we have to stop them. We have to stop them. We have to stop them. We didn't stop them. All right, let's pack it up and leave. Which to me, I was like, the one dude, when everyone else is like brainwashed by Emily Blunt, this dude is like, not at all. He goes by himself to kill both of them. And then he like can't. So he drives away. And I was thinking at the end, oh my God, this dude is going to shoot Emily Blunt or something. And he's like, what are we going to do, sir? And he's like, I'm just going to sit down here and watch this show. And the
he was showing like, you that.
Oh, okay. They set up explosives and
he angrily leaves.
They shut down the power.
That's right. I forgot about the explosives they set up that never happened.
Those went off.
Those went off. The generators. Those went off.
It
was in the window. They showed the generators blowing up. But like,
she turns the power back on at the end with the
MacGuffin.
There's so much that the villains tried to do. They were like, we have to stop this. And when Emily Blunt just is like, no, they all give up. Which again, that's what felt very cartoony. Is the characters have motivations to a point, and then the story dictates they must stop.
The story is trying to say that everybody has a human moment in their own life that they can get to. That can make them like it's trying to say that
there are no bad people. They're just broken people.
Yes.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, that's what Emily Blunt's character does. She sees all of that in even the most broken people. She sees that. But I get that. I understand. But the way the head of security present all of that information.
Yeah. The head of security guy not carrying out his job at the end is a echo of the theme about empathy and about pessimism and about just trying it the other way, because it's trying to show that even the like violent lapdogs, like the people that carry out the violence, like if the leader just doesn't condone the violence, then there's no violence that's going to happen.
I mean,
he's not going to shoot her in the face.
Look, you're not
because he's bloodthirsty.
Yeah, you're not wrong in like the tones and things happen. Like a great example of a scene I loved is so we have this character who is religious, but not really anymore. She still wears her cross. I thought, what a lovely scene where Colin Firth is trying to like get in her mind, and she's not using religion per se, but she's using the angle of her cross to like cut her hand so that she's not mind controlled. And I was like, yo, that's a really cool metaphor. That's super fun. There's things in this that I was like, okay, I see. I like that. I like that. I like that. But as a whole, I walked out still like, I don't know what I watched, because for everything I loved, there's so much stuff I was like, what were they thinking?
For me,
and it's such a weird movie.
If I'm not trying to like find the sins or whatever, if I'm just going to like look at it for what it is and talk about interpretation of the text, right? The part that like, I felt like just on that level, like the thematic level, I could find the main idea of the movie resonating almost everywhere in the movie, like felt pretty good to me that way. But the part that was really weird to me was the sort of like emphasis that they were putting on this. And I just literally didn't understand it. And this is what I mean. Like, this is like, I saw that they were making some sort of offer or making some sort of point with it, but I didn't get it. Is that like every time anybody who knows what's going on talks to them, mostly Hugo, he's always like, you. And again, it's always been just the two of you.
Yes.
Right. There's this sort of like thing going on about that
never gets answered, really.
It's not even like a question that gets posed. It's just like I didn't understand like what the movie was trying to say about that. Because I think part of it has to do with the fact that like maybe it sort of like invalidates a lot of the other
Maybe
like abduction stories or something. Like I don't
know if that's.
It doesn't. That doesn't feel like what they were trying to say. It doesn't sound like what they were trying to say in the movie, right?
There's also like another little plot hole in the movie too, where do you remember towards the end where he gives his bag of USB drives over to the government just so he can keep his little thingy? I think it's at the hotel where he gets caught.
Yeah,
and then he
and
magically
they take
has
the
his bag,
but Jane gets away with the MacGuffin.
But then he has the bag of USB drives at the end, the news station, as he plugging them all in. How did he get those back?
Because when Emily Blunt literally drives up to the military base, like
she just like goes and gets
controls everyone, walks in and takes the bag with her as they leave.
They all just they're just able, like in that weird scene where they leave. Like obviously she shows everybody. Like I was just saying, all their like the dad.
Yeah, she's walking. They see their loved ones.
Somehow they just are able to like.
Yeah,
they
collect everything. No one stops them again, except for the one guy who tries to murder them, and then later is like, you know what? Nah. The thing that I thought was interesting, and I know why they did it, because again, we have these discussions about math being a universal language, and that's how we communicate with aliens. But one of the interesting things I did.
That's literally what Mathas was saying the other day, by the way, which is crazy.
And again, coming off of our conversation and seeing this movie, I was like, okay. But I couldn't get over the fact that they introduce our main guy character, and he is a math whiz, a math genius, and everyone tells us that's the case. But I don't think he did math one time in this entire movie. Now there was an equation that he wrote.
Yeah, the equation.
But the equation was the words that were said
in the language.
And I was like, okay. So he can turn math
like
into
alien
language,
math.
but then he's also like a really good hacker. And it isn't until the very end when he just uploads files to a server that they're like, he's quite good at hacking. But that's not hacking. He just is uploading files.
No. I mean, to be real hacking. To be real hacking is a lot more about sticking USB drives in where you already wrote.
I've seen Mr. Robot. I'm aware.
Yeah,
but like, I guess my big thing is you have these two characters who are drawn on this adventure, and the only thing that was missing for me that I really needed was in Close Encounters. We get to see that Richard Dreyfuss's character goes insane. And his family is pushed away from him.
There's no stakes for the characters.
And we get to watch this man lose his mind because of his contact with the aliens. And then he pushes everyone away. And then he ends up going on this adventure by himself where he meets other like-minded people. And he goes on, and he's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go with the aliens and go away. And there's sort of like a human element to it. And this movie, for all the human characters and the human empathy and the human this and that, there's something that I was missing about, like, I think they tried to have U.S. Patriot be that guy for Emily Blunt, but most of his lines were like, what are you doing? What's happening? What's going on? What is this?
And like when he was like the reporting her to the hospital at the gas station, I'm like, brother, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be like,
but that's exactly it.
Because like,
what
do you mean? What do you mean go north? Because it feels like the right direction. That is the extent of the explanation.
But don't you want somebody to believe you?
Sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah,
but I would care about my fucking future wife's like mental health. At the same time.
Isn't this exactly the scene that we're talking? Isn't this exactly the thing
that we got time with these characters in a way that, to me, like we were thrown into one character story midway through, right? We're the guy, we are in the middle of his story from jump. And then Emily Blunt, we are brought in kind of at the beginning of her adventure before she's activated, but like, not having moments with these characters to sort of ground one character, his entire thing is like, something's happening and it's so crazy and so dangerous. I can't tell you till you're ready. I'm involved in some stuff, Jane, and I don't want to get you involved with this thing, Jane. And that's like all of his lines of dialogue. And Emily Blunt's character is like, I don't know why I have to do the thing I have to do, but I have to do it. And I'm going to do the thing I have to do, which I don't understand yet. And that's, to me, like so crazy to me. But
to me, I'm going to say that's literally Richard Dreyfuss's plot in.
Oh, sure. His whole, like, I'm being drawn to a place.
But it ruins his relationship. Yes. It ruins something.
Yeah.
But that doesn't.
And Wyatt Russell gets left at the gas station.
But it does. But he's still like.
But they never build their relationship.
They go out of their way to be like, she said she still loves you, mister. And at the end, he's smiling like, that's my girl. There's no like rupture. They're not giving up anything to say this information. If anything, things end up better for the main characters at the end.
We literally only spend time with them as they're on the run. Because like when we first meet Wyatt Russell, it's within 2 to 5 minutes, the Cardinal shows up and she's speaking Russision. So like from moment one, we're with this dude in the thick of it. So
the first scene in Close Encounters of the Third Kind is an abduction scene.
Sure.
Just saying.
Sure. But then
Just
we
saying.
see the fallout of that.
And also the setup for Josh O'Connor, the reason he doesn't have a backstory, the reason he doesn't fill it up is because his storyline is about faith and about believing things are real, even though you don't get to know. And so Jane is a ex-nun. I don't know how much more on the nose it could be that she's like an ex-nun and he's like a prison, like a whistleblower. And he doesn't want to, he can't like tell, he's like, trust me, this is really important, but you can't. And then she's like, okay. And then the nun is like, baby, you love God. You have faith up the wazoo. You don't have faith in your fellow man. You are pessimistic. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we get as much human story as we need from both of these characters.
You are right on the money with this. What I think Mathas and I are trying to say is, on the flip side, the story of Jane and the guy who name I still can't remember. Even though you say it multiple times, I instantly forget. But like
U.S. agent.
The story
his
of
name is
Jane and the main guy,
Jackson.
Jackson.
The boyfriend was Jackson.
Okay. Those two guys, or those two characters, they spend all this time together, etc. They're on this adventure, but the way we learn about them isn't through actions of what they do together. The way we learn about them is like little scenes where they'll sit there and he'll be like, you have to trust me. And she's like, we've had sex, so of course I trust you. And it's like,
no, she says, I'm not a nun. We've had sex.
Okay. But that's one of those things where it's like,
nuns can't have sex.
All right. But like, they don't kiss or like, there's nothing that shows their relationship except she said, we've had sex. So we're told this thing about them. But there isn't a scene like when we have U.S. agent Emily Blunt, who we can see for a good 5 minutes before everything goes to hell, that they have a relationship. And we get his backstory being a musician and how he's happy there. And she's kind of finding herself and lost. I like that. I thought that was very well done. I think the other two characters, because we're thrown in, and they, honestly, I don't think they're the focal point of the movie. I think they're supposed to be like all the UFO people out there trying to get stuff released. Emily Blunt is the main character, clearly.
Emily Blunt is like the I don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. Tell me everything that's happening.
I also want to shout out fucking Emily Blunt.
Not delve into their story as much, to me, was a disservice to what they were trying to do to this movie. Again, there's like parts that if they tweaked X, Y, and Z, I could have walked out and then been like, okay, yes, great.
What were you gonna say about Emily Blunt, Mathas?
She did a fucking great job.
Was fantastic.
She was crushed it. She was so good.
I really liked the weather lady.
Yes,
I thought that she did a great job of like really, because you got to remember she's British, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like she mostly plays American, and she still kind of has a weird voice, but she really nailed some kind of like middle of the country energy. I don't know. She did a good job.
A great example.
And Josh O'Connor also.
Of the dichotomy of this movie is we have the scene where the bad guy's trying to push their car into the train, right? And then it leads to this sort of like Fast and Furious-esque, we're on a car, we have to jump on the train, we got to get off. Like, very action movie. And that scene was whatever. I was like, all right, it's fine. But then after
this movie needed another CG pass.
Then after that is maybe one of the best scenes in the movie where Emily Blunt is losing her mind because of the power. She can't even look at this dude because she's like, if I look at you
in the train,
I'm gonna see into your freaking soul, and it's gonna so she's hyperventilating, and he's like wrapped around. Like, that scene was so powerful and such a good moment for the two of them where she's like, I'm caught up in some shit. I wanted that to be the whole movie of like, I'm caught up in some shit and I don't understand why. And most of the movie is Emily Blunt just being like, I have to go here.
I got to go this way.
Thing. Yeah. And that's what upset me is it's like, it was there. The thing I wanted was in this movie in like little small bits here and there. But
I can see the like desire for more like, I'm not trying to be pejorative. I see the need, like maybe the desire for more like melodrama in an action film. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I perceive that as well. I see what you're saying there. Like we want to get a little bit
emotional connection.
Because I would say they go realistic with the acting in this movie.
Oh, for sure. The acting is not a problem
Shout out
at all in this movie.
I mean, no, but it's not even. That's not what I mean. Like I mean, like not like the quality of the acting, but like the tone of the acting is very
feels realistic.
Yeah, like how people would really react versus like movie vibes. Like that reporter at the end was really weird, really weird Yeah, really weird performance, like for most movies, but is to me exactly what somebody would do.
100%.
And I think on that
I was
level,
running in my mind in the theater. I was running in my mind, like, well, it is like it's a weird delivery, but I'm like, how would I
remember Peter Jennings? Yeah, remember Peter Jennings on 9/11? How weird that was.
But I think going back to what I was saying before, and I was upset they didn't, because this is what I genuinely thought we were supposed to take away, and it's just that wasn't the point. But when she was sitting there reacting to, by the way, I just want to shout out to the actress. All she had was that one scene, and she was just killing it. But
the reporter, unreal.
And so she's sitting there reacting to things. But you'll notice during that scene, she doesn't mention aliens. She doesn't mention, she's like, I see bodies. She's talking about like and in my mind, again,
she's being like a responsible journalist
of the witnessing tragedy and catastrophe and war for us, and how that's how we should react. We should be just like blown away and sad and crying about, like, look at these little bodies. And I was like, if we had the empathy that this movie's trying to get across, and we see the dead that wars cause, because that's a theme in this movie, I was like, oh shit, Spielberg's like spitting fire. But that's not necessarily, like, it is, but it also isn't. It's like he dabbed a little foot in and was like, guys, be nice to each other, because it would be bad if you weren't. And I wanted him to literally just be like, we do this to each other. Like, I wanted him to just slap the audience across the face.
It's a good way
like,
to put it.
What's the matter with us? That's what I thought we were going to get from this.
I think this movie was about, like, why we need to know the truth about stuff, more so than it is about anything having to do with aliens, right?
Oh, for sure.
But
it's not an alien movie.
But that said, yeah, right. Like, the alien, like, specifics aren't the important part. But, like, that said, the specifics and depiction of aliens in this movie, I thought, was very well done. Like, I think
for sure,
if you look at especially the like little like orgasm of like footage that they give you at the end, you get like we're talking about this amazing news report. We're talking about this like very long sort of like what it would be like if suddenly somebody uploaded all the alien evidence on the news, how crazy that would be. They did a great job. But you get to watch a lot of these videos, and I was kind of making fun of some of them earlier because they're literally like Avengers level CG playing out from an airplane, like that one, when I'm talking about where the triangle, like
the V,
super sweet, like awesome, but like, kind of crazy compositions. And side note, the animals and stuff, I think people have been talking kind of shit about them. There's just like a little bit of
honestly
composition, like compositing that's not good about it. That's all it is. Those are amazing animations.
For the animals didn't bother me. What was driving me crazy the entire time it was happening, and I don't know if you guys saw this, and maybe I just was confused, but when they do the flashback of Emily Blunt's childhood, the little girl who plays Emily Blunt, I don't know this child at all. But what I do know is her face has an uncanny valley to it, where I thought it was CG. I was like, did they CG a little girl's face? No, but no, it's just her face. And I was freaking out because I was like worried I was losing my mind.
She was like a perfectly symmetrical little girl, like to an uncanny level.
Yes, it was worrying, because when she stood up from the bed, I was like, is that supposed to be CG Emily Blunt? Like, that's terrible. Yeah. But the longer it went on, I was like, no, that's just a child.
That's a real girl.
Like, no.
I think that scene specifically, if we're talking about the depiction of the aliens, was like,
it was Close Encounters. It was Fire in the Sky. Well, I liked that. I thought that was good.
But specifically, it went the direction that I never thought somebody like mainstream would go in a movie, which is like a lot of the stuff that we talk about here on the show. Like, you see what you want to see. Mm-hmm. They appeal to you. They appear to you in a way, in this movie, they're still from space, which is, I think, the most surprising thing about this movie to me. Like, from the alien depiction.
Well, they don't necessarily say space.
They don't say it, but
they don't say it, but it's like,
but it's like spaceships water at one point, which I really liked. Yes. I was like, okay.
No, there's a lot of little Easter eggs, for the UFO junkies like we are.
Yes, and that to me shows that it's not that Spielberg is
He's
out of
Reddit,
touch.
for sure.
Yeah, it's not that he's out of touch. It's that he's aiming the breadth that Steven Spielberg usually aims, which is, in a similar, maybe not in the same way, because I think like there's a level of style going on here and a level of like writing and like thinking and presentation that's going on here where he's sticking to his theme and he's making his point. But like, I think he's aiming broad on purpose, and he's aiming for, old people, young people, people who don't speak internet that well. I think he's trying to tell as much as he can about this thing that may really be happening to people that are in no way ready to hear it and don't want to hear it and aren't in any way ready. Like, imagine you don't believe in aliens at all. Like, you don't even like entertain the idea of aliens and you watch this movie. I want to read like a positive review of the movie from somebody who is like, aliens are not real. The government tells the truth.
Yeah, I mean, The crazy thing
I'm interested in what those people think about
Spielberg goes out of his way to really kind of like, I don't want to say turf. That's not the word, but like he will go, like a great example is going back to the scene with the nun. Jane's asking her like, how does this square with the Bible? And she's like, I mean, it says we're God's creation on earth. Right. And that's like very, geared towards one audience who could be watching this movie. And he does little things like that. But what's funny about it, and I think this goes to the inherent problem with the message of the movie, is that if you look online, the people he was trying to reach with that line are pissed because it's like, how dare you make a mockery of Jesus or whatever. And I'm like,
yeah, of course.
What? Well, I think that goes to the time we live in versus the world he was trying to show. It feels like it's not like that was a 2026 that isn't real, like an alternate dimension where everyone's willing to listen, and the appeals to power and the appeals to people of authority and saying like the truth will win out is a thing that is real in that reality, because we all have the knowledge that in this reality, the truth is whatever the hell people say the truth is. Well, and we just
the truth files are literally out there, and we still who's been held accountable for any of it. The truth is that if we listened and we were empathetic, it would work. That's it.
But the problem is that a small amount of people are not. And
the movie's also like, but the guy at the private war industry, all he needs is to feel empathy. I'm like, no, I do think there are people out there who run these companies that just subsist on power and money.
Like the guy who wanted to shoot Emily Blunt in the head.
Right, which is why him just being like harumph and leaving was like frustrating.
Because one person above him had empathy.
I don't know that I said cartoonish. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's something about the movie where it's like they're rather than deal with anything, it had a message, stayed on message, and that's all it was. And it didn't allow the movie itself to push back against the message. Like, by saying, be good, listen, have empathy, there was no one in this movie that was like, I'm the character who's going to say no. Which reality, there are people who literally are like Mathas was saying, empathy is bad. And so there was no one in this movie who was like, that's what we needed. A genuine foil, I think, is the problem with this movie, because there was no one to push. Spielberg got to say, this is a movie about listening to each other and having empathy, and how that could prevent wars and how that could open us up to be better people to each other and all this stuff. And then who knows, maybe the aliens then will ascend and we will get to spend the rest of eternity with the aliens. But the thing is that there's no character who's like, I disagree. There's characters who we have to stop them for X, Y, and Z reasons, but not the antithesis of what the movie's moral is. There's no one who is Thanosing this shit and being like, I think I'm correct.
In my movie about Nazism being bad, actually, like, I have no interest in the guy who's like, well, there's a few good things about Nazism. Like, I just don't care about that guy.
But
like,
in a Nazi movie, like, there are Nazis.
Well, but these guys are those guys, pretty much.
Not really.
Like,
they're just doing a job.
They want us to empathize at the end with the guy at the top.
Okay, you said they're just doing a job. right? I would say most Nazis, like the ones that aren't out there today, like the ones that were actually German Nazi soldiers.
And they had an ideology. They had an, even if
they were,
but they were
most of them just doing a job.
All the murdery stuff, they bought into the ideology of like the Reich. And these guys,
when the message is, I think when the message is global and as straightforward as listen to each other and be kind, I like sometimes, like if the message was like time is a flat circle, you know, I want to hear from the optimist also. But in this case, like something that's not nuanced, like be nice, listen.
But I think that's what I was talking about. What I'm trying to get to the point here being that I don't know if cartoon is the right word, but it's very like surface level.
Simple.
Yes, it's very
like
simple,
childish,
which can in fact be the point of the movie. It's just that the movie I wanted, Disclosure Day, what we got was the run up to and the moment of disclosure, but not the full like breadth of what disclosure would mean. We got talk about what could potentially happen, but we didn't get any of it beyond the moment of now you know, end of like credits. And I wanted something deeper, and it's fine for the story he told to be like, hey, listen to each other, but it has that sort of like a jingoistic hokum vibe of like just a YouTube video of a guy being like, hey man, I've been thinking we're starting to like get really down on each other lately. And if we just opened our minds and accept, it's that vibe, but in a 2-hour movie.
If this was fucking James Cameron's wife, what's her name, directing the movie Zero Dark 30, you know, what's her name? Bigelow. If this was her directing this movie, or The Hurt Locker, you know, one of her movies, I would expect there to be some or Civil War guy, you know, like if this was one of those guys, I would expect the movie to be something a little bit more to chew on, right? Like I would expect it to be like a little bit more nuanced and intellectualized. But when you told me it's Disclosure Day by Steven Spielberg, like the movie that we got to me was like, I could have probably wrote like 90% of this screenplay beat for beat, like off one trailer. Like, I don't know, like the movie itself wasn't that surprising, I guess, if that's the right word. Like, I didn't think that it went outside of what I thought that Steven Spielberg was going to deliver in his movie about aliens. But I am surprised how layered it is and how structured it is in its construction with its simple message. I think that it does a really good job of making its point. And I think that even though it is frustrating to be somebody in our position who is constantly feeling like the people in the last portion of this movie, except it's like pluribus where like nobody around us feels that way. I feel like there's this sort of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Catharsis that did not come, that I was sort of looking for or expecting, because it's such a big part of my alien thinking experience, is like the injustice of it all, the pessimism, my personal pessimism about it, right? Like I don't get excited the way that I was about David Grush anymore. Like I don't.
Same.
Like
but
somehow
it's
watching,
like but I believe more than I ever have.
Somehow watching fucking Age of Disclosure, like made me like less
break
like
something in you.
It like made me less hopeful that we're ever gonna like jump on this like in a above board way, which I think is probably more realistically how it's eventually going to happen. You know, like I don't think it's going to be like, I have 80 flash drives. How long do you have? Like, I think it's going to be like, I think it's going to be probably like the president comes on TV and says something or something like that. Or a committee comes on TV and says something like that. But I think it is missing from the actual experience of caring about this, the sort of backbreaking, mind-numbing hopelessness of it all that I find in these days, sort of, especially after aliens.gov, which is one of the worst thing that's ever happened ever in the world of UFOs ever. Like
I think the UFO community not happy about it.
Yeah, I think that element of this experience is just full on not in Disclosure Day. It's like the one key element of like knowing about this and caring about this that's not there. But I think that it is on purpose that it is not there. I think that he is literally trying to eliminate the pessimism. And I think that, like, all I can ask of you, the viewer, and I know I'm speaking to like a pretty biased portion of the audience, like listeners of Chilluminati that are going to go see Disclosure Day, is probably like all of you already the moment you saw the first trailer. But like, don't think about yourself. Like, think about, like, talk to people about this movie who don't already know shit. That's what you should use this movie for. Like, I think like going forth and using this movie as a conversation piece with people who never talk about aliens. Like, I'm going to go see this movie with my dad for Father's Day. Like, that's where I think this movie's teeth are.
Is it? Do you? Because I feel like that's one of its weakest aspects, is its alien aspect. It's like, it's not really a movie about aliens. Okay,
like imagine your friend who doesn't like who loves comic books and like is an open-minded person but doesn't follow the UFO stuff all the time, right? Yeah. So you've now both seen Disclosure Day, right? And they're like, what's the deal with the aliens and the psychic powers? You wouldn't you have a lot to say?
Right there? For sure.
That's what I'm saying.
But I just don't know. Like, I just don't know if that's something that most people are going to be wondering. It's
crazy
about.
That the takeaway from this. So for me, leaving this film and realizing it wasn't really about aliens, my big takeaway from that was, and honestly, it surprised me. While walking out to like my car, I was like, so really? This movie believes that there's so much alien mythos and things in the cultural zeitgeist right now that it's not even important to talk about the aliens. It's to talk about us and our reaction to them. And walking away, I genuinely, even though I talk about it all the time with you guys about how, like,
it's called Disclosure Day too.
I'm these, you know, like, we exist in a world where I don't know that people care about aliens and this and this. I think as I was walking the car, I was like, oh, really? My takeaway now is people understand. They think about aliens. They're on the radar. They are part of us. But we as humans have other crap going on that like, this movie is like, cut through the crap is what it's trying to say. And
it's like, listen, it's like, wait, what do you mean there's aliens? Tell me more.
And I think, and so as I walked away, I was like, oh, if anything, it makes me appreciate that, like what you guys have said numerous times, and I poo-pooed you constantly, is that, because I've been like, there's waves, and like in the past, they've done this before. But I think genuinely, after having seen this movie, I now really truly believe that we are in sort of an era where more and more people know or think about aliens than ever before. And usually I'm like, oh, in the past it was this, and we've done this before. But I now truly believe that a majority of people are open to the idea in a way that I didn't before I saw this movie, because I realized while watching it, it's not about teaching people about aliens. It's about teaching people about how to deal with the concept of aliens.
Yeah, it's about graduating the aliens themselves out of the goddamn fluff, like the squirrel on a jet ski portion of the news.
And into like, oh, it's a real, even if it isn't a real thing, like even if tomorrow, like 100 years from now, we still don't have an alien, the idea that we are not alone in the universe should be something we should be considering and thinking about and understanding that we're all like on a little fucking blue marble in space and we got to be better to each other. Like, that's the takeaway from the movie. And I was like, all right, cool, great.
And let's get some hot people in there instead of like the craziest people you've ever seen in your life, who like run an attraction. About? Like, I'm just saying, like, whenever like a news program brings out somebody to talk about an alien, it's like, he also runs a roadside house where everything's made of green glass bottles. You're like, well, fuck. Like, what are we doing?
Really? Why are we listening to this?
Yeah, it is unfortunate that those are the people that have the free time to review alien stuff.
If everybody who saw aliens looked like Emily Blunt, we'd have a fucking embassy right now.
But with that said, I just want to point out, going back, Emily Blunt's character does the thing she does by alien powers, and that's some Manchurian candidate shit. Like,
she's just a passenger.
Like, the fact that there wasn't, the fact that the bad guy wasn't like, how can we trust her? Like, the dude with the gun, like, he's like, no one was like, she's a tool of the alien. No one says that. That's the first thing I thought. It was like, uh-oh, but no one brings it up.
No, it is a weird thing, but that's also like, it's one of the interesting conversations in the UFO world is like, so many people say that within the programs that if you knew the truth, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And there's so many theories as to like why people think that is the case. But what if the reason is the truth is once you like, it's consciousness based, as we keep saying, but that does mean that like they can slip into your mind and you can't do anything about it. They can do whatever they want to your consciousness and like plug these commands into you, and you literally can do nothing. And the government can't protect you. They can't stop it.
I think that would be like if they did a part, if like part of the plot of this movie was you have our math guy being like, if you knew the truth, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. It's crazy. If, the bad guy was like, we have to stop this information from getting out because like once people know, and then we had Emily Blunt's character who was like mind controlled through this whole thing. You could have the assumption people be like, oh, these aliens can control us to do this. But then the reveal being that no, that they gave her these powers because she's the conduit. And the real thing that we would not be able to sleep at night knowing is how truly terrible we were to these aliens when they arrived on Earth. And we are the problem and we would not be able to sleep at night.
That's Josh O'Connor.
Like, that would have been an amazing through line of the story. And there's bits of it there, but it's just not the story they're telling. And that, again, that's a very Spielberg story. Like that's just his personal,
that's his personal reason for like disseminating the files.
Yeah. He saw what the people were up to, and
Jane is like,
yeah, like learn that we're the problem, and like we literally there's a scene where he's torturing an alien. Like if that's the thing that people they don't want to see that because if we see how bad we are, that puts the lens on us. And I was ready, like there's stuff like that. I was ready to get like, let's go Spielberg, let's say a thing, and all he says is a really surface, hey guys, don't be dicks, which like. Has been done countless times and people still are dicks. Jesus was like, don't be dicks.
But it's not just don't be dicks. It's not just don't be dicks. It's like
the ultimate don't be a dick.
It's like don't be dicks about this specific thing. It's like don't jump to the like, don't like take what information is there and go, great, you've said that, so now I'm going to turn that into whatever I need it to be. It means listen to everything. Fucking read, fucking actually absorb the information yourself, process it, and then make a decision. That's all it's saying. And it's like, a pretty standard message across the board. But in the world of r/UFO, goddamn, if that is not good advice for
I think it's good. I think 99%
of the people
across the board constantly. Yeah.
But like specifically for the people writing theories on r/UFO.
But I feel like it's a message that's been like, we needed something else in this movie. There's like something missing that when I walked out, I was like, all right, I mean, I know what they were trying to do. It just didn't land.
What could I have done
in a way that I was like, I'm so happy I saw that.
If I'm sitting in the writer's room right now and we're like working on this screenplay and you're telling me what's something like that would definitely make this movie stronger in its message and like idea, I don't know exactly what I would do. But something maybe with the characters talking to each other more. I felt like there was a little bit, not Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt. I think they did great. I forget. I'm so sorry. I can't remember the actress's name who plays Jane. She's a little bit less famous than the other ones, but she's still very good.
The thing that should have happened is that Colin Firth, instead of all of his scenes where he's in people's mind, him being like, "Where are you right now? What's to your right?" What? Having just like talking with them about why he's doing anything he's doing. He never has a conversation. He literally just gets in their head and tries to find them. which is insane.
Yeah, you only get it through Coleman Domingo briefly when
he gets the good talk with him.
You break.
Yeah, then that's a great scene. He should have been doing that. He should have been, instead of "Where are you?" He should have been like, "I'm in your mind, and I'm going to try and manipulate you and talk to you about like Jane. I'm trying to help you." Like that kind of stuff would have been better for me.
I think my note, if I'm writing the screenplay, if I'm like working on the screenplay, is like give me more.
Oh, sure.
Like,
they could have added more time and I would have been fine.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's not that I really would have added an element so much as I would have just, given everything a little bit more time. But the movie is already
2.5 hours.
Yeah. Like 160 minutes.
There's also things I think Spielberg did because Spielberg, and he likes to add little like, this is a moment of levity. But it is weird. The scene with the phone. I get it. Moment of levity. But then we're like
I felt like that was like how crazy you get when you're like in crisis mode. And you,
I understand,
forget what's
but it's
important.
like it's a chunk of the film that's like, okay, did we need it? Could she have just thrown it out and we moved on with the scene? Sure. Then later, when they're in the facility and they rebuilt the house and she uses the power to make it invisible, the goof where all of the goons keep hitting the house and hitting the cars. I was like, this is so supremely Spielberg, except in this moment, I don't know this is the right call.
Light them all. They can't shoot them, though. That's right. They're not allowed.
I was like, it's not the right. In this moment, it just doesn't feel right. But I recognize it as this is, if this was E.T. and they were chasing kids and the bad guys were like, whoa, I would have been like, perfect. But these are adults dealing with adults. And the bad guys are running into stuff and going, and falling over. And I'm like, what? This is like the end of the movie?
It kind of is, though. It kind of is Indiana. This is a PG-13 like family action film about aliens.
Sure. Yeah. But it doesn't.
The non-action bits don't play like chunks. An Indiana Jones movie. Yeah, it's just the action films feel Indiana Jones nonsensical, but the other moments don't.
When you watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and you're buying into everything that's happening, all the stuff, and then Shia LaBeouf swings with monkeys on a vine, and you're like, that took me out. The same thing here is I'm buying into what he's doing, and then he just throws in little moments that take me out, and I'm like, brother, what? Same vibe.
Okay. One thing I would add though.
Also, before I drop this, I guess it's not a plot hole. I wanted to know what happened to the one dude who grabbed the MacGuffin and teleported.
Oh, no.
And got
that scene. So that was the number two. That was number two guy. He grabs the MacGuffin. He vanishes. He lets go and reappears. That is literally there just to show you later in the movie that it has the power to make someone disappear. No, he just vanished. He disappeared.
Yeah. Oh my God! Because he looked like he fell on his ass.
He looked like he Thanos'd away.
I thought he disintegrated. I thought he died too,
which is why you can't touch it. I was like, really? Yeah. What it was saying is later in the movie, so they didn't have to stab something. No one had to go.
I thought he teleported.
I know we can make us invisible.
It's very Chekhovian. Yeah.
That's the only reason that
makes more sense. Yeah. Not what I read off of that first viewing.
That movie, like, I'm actually impressed with how it didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
Agreed.
But it felt that it's similar, but only in the way that like Rise of Skywalker didn't feel like 2.5 hours because they're throwing so much shit at me the whole time, like bang, bang, bang. Of course, this is Steven Spielberg making this movie, not like the muse to Radiohead of J.J. Abrams that Steven Spielberg is. But like, I feel like Steven Spielberg just actually is good enough of a filmmaker to make a movie that's like really works still on this at this pace. Yeah. But I don't recommend anybody else do that besides the best guy we got. So I don't know. Like,
and even then,
I don't think this movie's like,
I don't know that it landed, and it's visually incredible, but I don't know that it landed. Mm-hmm.
It needed to be slower.
And I think that's, and
from a writing perspective, this is like totally different.
You're right. If anyone else but Spielberg made this, it would be insane. But it lands in the way it does, I think, with missing a few wheels or whatever. But it gets to the end because Spielberg is brilliant. I just don't know if this is the right way to tell this story. And I feel like for a lot of Spielberg in the interviews and stuff up front being like, I want to tell a grounded story about Disclosure Day, a lot of this doesn't feel grounded. It feels like watching E.T., where there's moments of just like alien magic.
Goofery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scene of the reporter is like a very good sort of microcosm of the entire movie, because it's like extremely accurate to like what humans would actually do in the situation. You don't get exposition in real life. You don't get any of those things in real life. And what comes across as a very emotionally honest thing that's very like surreal feeling. I think that's exactly what happens in this movie. I think like the choice to make it very grounded in the, and I don't think he means grounded in the like writerly sense. I think he means like grounded in the like stylistic sense. Like it is like set in reality for the most part. Like,
Yeah.
people freak out of nowhere. Like Wyatt Russell, for example, like whether or not he was used well or not, like extremely like not actorly performance, like very casual, very good acting in a very
again,
like
most of his lines were like, "What are you
way.
doing? What is happening? Why
that's
are we doing
but
this?"
that's what I mean. Like he's not like some guy with an angle. He's not like how Stan Lee makes like a character and then gives him a limp. He's like, you know, he's like just a dude.
Sure.
He's like a fucking boring dude that you would never choose to be in a movie, which is like every character, which is kind of cool. It's just that I think maybe Steven Spielberg is like a little bit less adept at that type of filmmaking than he is at like 1010. You know? But okay, I do want to say, if there's one thing I could add to address your complaint about the movie feeling kind of weird and not centering the human element as much, right? Maybe because the movie opens with like a smash cut, like it's like the opening
Literal
shot is like
smash
a
cut
wrestler,
of a man's boot to the camera.
yeah, like a wrestler stepping on your face, and I think it's the Red Wrestler, which is very funny, which is what it felt like for some time now, and you know, maybe that's an actual smash cut off of like a transition from a previous scene before that. That's like a non sequitur scene with Jane and Josh O'Connor's character, who I can't remember his name in the show, but like just maybe something like, you know how like in Jurassic Park you get like 5 seconds of Dr. Grant and Dr. Sadler just doing their thing, and it just, instead of it being like guns on screen in the first 30 seconds,
they're just
like
scientists are being archaeologists. Yeah.
I think just that little mental trick of like bringing us into it that little extra bit more, that the gun feels jarring rather than like the real way the movie is. I think a lot of those other fairy tale segments and a lot of those other things would fit in a little bit better, because you know what this movie really is, the more I think about it? Have you ever seen the movie Return to Witch Mountain?
Yes. Okay. Because you most
it's a
certainly
Disney.
have not. No way.
It's a Disney one. It's a Disney one that didn't quite make it to theaters. Or actually, I think eventually there was one with The Rock, but that's not what I'm
The
talking
Rock
about.
was in a newer version. Yes, but you're talking about the old one.
No.
Yeah, like I feel like that's much more accurate to what the movie is in tone. Like for the most part, even like they literally hit the nail. Like the best thing I can say is that this movie has like a fairy tale fable tone to it, and like I think that the beginning being like a heavy action beginning, I think was the one little misstep, like true, like that I'm gonna like say like I would change about. I rarely ever do that where I'm like, oh, here's what they should do. Like I don't think that, but like I think maybe just adding like a soft scene at the beginning instead of that violent scene at the beginning just would have put my mind somewhere else at the top, and then I'd be thinking about everything else a little bit.
I know exactly why he did it. It's the point of like the message. I get it. But the
movie didn't need another scene like pacing wise.
What's interesting though is I know I mentioned Superman earlier about it just jumping us in, but I realized, and you just talking right now, that in that movie, while it throws us in, it gives us a little beat up front of like, 3 years ago, or like,
30 years ago.
Yeah,
Superman's
this happened,
here.
this happened, this happened. And then we start. And it gives us some context of where we're at in the movie. This starts us, and the context is,
you're like, who's that? What is that? What's going on? Who's that?
You have to really keep up with what's going on. And the bad guys have to do a lot of exposition. It's like, we've been tracking you for a while now. Like that. Like, he's like, where's Jane? Like, we have Jane. And you're like, who the hell's Jane? And there's a lot of that where you're just trying to keep up with the movie in the beginning. And instead of being, all right, I can enjoy this, you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And I feel like in a movie that isn't presented as a you trying to figure out what the hell's going on movie, doing that in the movie takes away from what Spielberg's actually trying to do, which is give you these little vignettes of like, hey guys,
it's the
this
alien
is
bit.
all symbolism. I'm hitting you with shit. And meanwhile, you're trying to figure out what's important to the plot, which is, I think, a misstep.
Yeah. Like if I did a pass on this script, I would have wrote the scene at the beginning, and then I probably also would have cut the scene. that's like probably what would happen for me. So that's how I feel about that. I understand. I think the opening of the movie is like in hindsight pretty sweet. It's
like
now
a
that I know where the movie went,
of what's going on. Yeah.
Like I think a second watch of this movie for me, like as a movie buff, would be like pretty fun for me. But and I'm actually gonna, like I said, I'm gonna go see it with my dad in like a day or something.
There's a version of this movie that should have been the intro, was in some way the end. You know what I mean? Like the disclosure day is disclosure happens in the beginning of the movie for whatever purpose.
And it's people trying to stop it or whatever.
Like literally, the beginning is the disclosure. And then instead of a war being on in the background of the movie and people scrambling the shelves because of a war, the background of the movie should have been all the countries and nations reacting, people freaking out, like the panic that is there, but then have our main characters be these people that are like, the disclosure at the beginning was the evidence. The end of the movie should have been like it was, the alien showing up. And so the movie shouldn't have been, we're trying to get the evidence out. The movie should have been, we're trying to get the alien on national TV.
That would have been
for peppiness. For peppiness, way better.
Yeah.
But
and also like it's also more realistic to the name of the fucking movie.
Well,
like
but
this was the day before Disclosure Day.
Well, no, it was Disclosure Day. She literally says
Disclosure Day at the last minute.
Yes, because the movie is about it will be fine if disclosure happens, not the world will plunge into a war if disclosure happens. So that's why
we don't know, because we don't know what happens after.
But that's the whole point. The whole point is don't be pessimistic. The whole point is we know what happens and it went well. That's the whole point in our minds. If we are in the right mindset that the movie wants us to be in.
I mean, I think that's obviously the point, fallacy of the movie.
The reason that's why he doesn't show it, right?
Be this thing and be in the right mindset to appreciate the message. But current 2026 world, I don't know that anyone is in that mindset right now.
That's who it's for. But like, if the movie ended with like the fucking meme of like floating, like the world, how it would be if Kamala won or whatever, like the monorail and if the movie ended like that, that would be like a little insincere.
No, but I mean, I think that it's better that it should have been
better that they're just
one
like,
day.
Keep your ears
open. It should have
open.
been like one day, and the beginning of the day is disclosure, and at the end they need to get the alien to the network. And so it's that process of the day, and then the movie can end the exact same way of just listen. But I just felt like there's a lot of moving parts in this movie, and I didn't know. Like, we didn't even talk about the fact that there's a scene where a man goes off into like the hills to make a phone call. Jane is mind controlled into betraying him. And then when he returns, all the bad guys have pulled up in their black sedans and are outside. And my man, I thought they do like a spinning camera thing where they spin around him and he's trying to hide behind what looks like nothing. If I was any guard, I would have seen him to the car. And he hides behind it. And as the camera spins, I thought, the reveal is that going to be on the other side of the fence. There's all this brush, and that's why they can't see him. They pan the camera.
No, he's
still very fucking visible. And I was like, what do you mean? And then he starts moving, but because they do all the like Foley work, it's like he's running. You can hear it. He's like, the guards are just like oblivious to him.
Similar situation to when they do the car over the cliff and they hide behind the rock 5 feet away, and they're just like breathing heavy and stuff, and the guys are like, they went over the edge, let's just not clear the area, we can just go.
He drives into the house,
very
grabs
silly.
Jane,
that's
throws
more
her in the backseat.
Spielbergian than it is realism.
But that's what it felt like a scene in a different movie.
Yes,
a different Spielberg movie.
Because there's like some really cool the mind control thing. That scene where he puts everything away, and then he's like still managed to like get in there and get it.
She reaches with her fucking foot and like tips that shit over.
There's a lot of cool stuff in this movie. It's a lot of cool ideas, but none of it is like, all right, yes, you've nailed this one thing. It feels like everything is, I know what you're doing. I like what you're doing. None of it's landing. It drove me crazy because I like the message of this movie. I was just like, I don't know that this is a movie that is, to quote a Faciane, ready for prime time.
Look, if you go to the movies and you watch Disclosure Day, are you going to have a good ass time? Probably better than most
people in my theater clapped at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. It's by Steven Spielberg. It's a pretty good movie, like in the sense of like, I'm going to pay $15 and have a 2-hour good time, right? Pretty good for that. I think depending on what type of UFO person you are or what way you relate to UFOs, I think you're going to feel some type of way about it. I think beyond that,
selfishly, I wish there was obviously more alien stuff because it's clear Spielberg is heavy. I mean, it was clear.
He made a
in Close
documentary
Encounters.
too. Just
like, he's clear.
To his credit, he made an amazing documentary. Also.
Like he's very much informed on the UFO topic. There's so many Easter eggs for the UFO junkie in there that just like there's a lot more meaning to a lot of the stuff if you are deep in the consciousness side of the UFO wooiness of it all, which is clearly where he was hedging his bets. Like you said, it's still weird that they're from space, but also like maybe if they were from a different dimension, it'd been too much for a movie that's weird. Kind of like this already.
It's off message. Yeah.
All the videos of like all the UFOs coming out. There's a lot of those are just direct references to like the Tic Tac
Reddit posts.
It was cool to see the orbs as part of them in there. The whole video of Nixon showing what was that actor's name? The alien.
Was it supposed to be Jackie Gleason? Is that who it was supposed to be?
Yeah,
that's correct. And that is actually that's a real story thing. Yeah. That is supposedly why the CIA or whoever was in charge of it cut off presidents from ever knowing. They say that in
the movie. They say this is why presidents will never know anymore.
Because he showed because that's a true tidbit from Jackie Gleason's wife's autobiography. That's where it comes from.
I gotta find a Gleason.
But it's funny, it's believable, but it's so cool that in the movie when those bits were happening, it's like, damn, okay, Spielberg knows his UFO shit, and I want more of that. The shot of the deer rotating around and becoming the gray,
cool. That was a great shot.
Fucking phenomenal
awesome.
Shot. And
it was great.
They looked like, I couldn't help but notice that the grays looked a lot more like the tridactyl mummies in this movie.
Yes.
I don't know if there's something maybe only like a few people pick up on. They are only 3-fingered. They have really long. Their facial structure is closer to the tridactyl mummy facial.
I like the biology
structure.
of their lower half, where it was like more like an upright dog.
Yes,
than it was
the way
like
they walked wasn't. It didn't look human, and I liked that. Yeah,
yeah. It was really neat. Like they just did a really good job. Like I said, everybody's giving this movie like this sort of like the classic thing that people who don't know how movies are made type thing where they're like, the CG looks like shit. The movie has bad graphics. I would say
I'm not going to ever complain about that stuff. I grew up with The Rock in The Mummy too. So I don't care about CG. Dog. It's whatever.
I just feel there's some compositing issues. And I think that probably by the time this movie comes on streaming, they might even do another pass. I don't know. Some movies come out and it's weird, right? Like The Fox looked weird at a point. The scene with all the animals that are guides in the dream looked almost like it was from a Fable or something, like the game.
But she was
Fable.
humming the freaking Snow White song, so it was supposed to be
right.
It's obviously supposed to be a Fable.
I'm not even saying it's bad. I'm just saying in those scenes it's a little bit more excusable because it's actually more cartoony. But there's no difference between how the animals looked. There's no difference between how the animals look in real life and how they look in that dream sequence. And I think they look a little weird in real life. Same thing with the car. But again, all looked really good animation wise and good models. It just was weird compositing in the scenes. I just didn't feel finished to me. It felt like there was not enough diffusion. You could see the animals too crisp or something. It was really weird.
Oh man,
really weird.
There's another missed thing I just picked up on that I wish they would have tackled in some way. In this movie, there's a lot of Hansel and Gretel imagery. And to the point, she says it at one point. And I would have loved it if again, instead of the main bad guy being I will stop you, whatever the case may, him trying to be the witch in that scenario and be like, I'm only looking out for you. I just want to help. And then I'm going to burn your asses. That would have been a better angle to then hammer home the fableness of this, that these characters are Hansel and Gretel. And they're literally following the breadcrumbs to the answer But the bad
just
guy
wanting
at
to
the
add-
end, he's like, I will give you the answer. But then he's the bad guy, right? You know what I mean? Like, they could have done that.
We just keep spinning around being like, we want to add depth to some of these characters. Like some of these characters
I don't really
need a little more. I needed a little more depth in my villain, a little bit more relationship building between certain characters, that scenes that just make you feel more natural, like we were talking about earlier. There just needs to be a bit more.
If it was slower,
substance,
if there was like more seconds in the scenes, like
I don't need that, but like
I just mean like the amount that people were talking to each other to convey information is like not natural to like the real world.
That's the problem. They had to do the thing that podcasts or whatever do when looking at video. You know what I mean? So they showed the Jackie Gleason Nixon clip, right? And so you can't just show it. So he has to explain it to her. And he's like, oh, this is Nixon with that actor, whatever his name is. And this video is why this thing happened and why presidents don't know. So they're getting the information out, but it's in a clunky sort of exposition way rather than a conversational way. So all those scenes where they're just like dumping information on you don't feel like conversations. They feel like Spielberg needs us to know this information.
Yes.
And
which
that's
is like, well, like to Spielberg's credit,
it's just tough
done
to
very
do,
well.
You know,
it's just like I said,
he didn't write the movie.
No, it's David Cohen, but it's basically Spielberg writing the movie. That's like he wrote like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like I mean,
okay.
Yeah, but it's like it's just literally like a stylistic choice, and it's not working necessarily on all fronts.
Sure.
I think for Spielberg's purposes of telling a tight little fable about aliens in a brief 2.5 hour runtime, I think he nails it. But I think like if it was just about being footage of this story that I wanted to see personally, I like a little bit more connection, but also I like to binge a TV show sometimes too. So maybe in a world where I'm willing to watch a 4-hour movie, that can exist, but I'm also realistic about the fact that 2.5 hours for anything without captcha in it is pushing it.
I mean, but this goes back to the scenes that I dislike, which I'm like, we don't need 3 minutes of you trying to run over a phone. That can be used in this movie in another way to make another scene better. That's my complaint with this movie is there are scenes that I would have scrapped and then take that time and put it into really flushing out other things that are so much more important.
Did you know that movies are 2.5 hours long now because it makes it harder for other movie studios to screen movies at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a whole reason for it, for sure.
Isn't that cool?
Because you can take over slots in a movie theater. Yeah.
Do you think this movie did anything on the front of pushing actual disclosure?
Culturally, 100%. But we'll see.
You think so?
If it's like a big hit, I think yes.
I don't.
If it's like a hated film, probably not. But I don't think it's going to be a hated film.
I don't think it's going to be a hated film.
I think it's going to hit pretty hard, and I don't think UFO fans are going to hate it. I think it's going to be kind of, it's pretty fan servicey, I would say. Like if they're a fandom, if they're a fandom, it's fan servicey as fuck.
I agree.
I can see that.
Anything, but it does
culturally.
It changed my attitude on how I view the current discourse. Where before I thought it was the exact same, and now I believe it is bigger than it's ever been. And because of this movie, because it literally does the things that you guys were just talking about, where it's like, I walked away thinking like, okay, so it's about people, not the aliens. And I realized, it doesn't need to be about the aliens because everyone's already thinking about aliens.
Granted, we are on a very specific show.
Sure.
Okay? But even already,
but our opinions or this show.
I'm just that aside. I'm saying that aside. That movie existing just from us has already generated 2 specific pieces of content about aliens. Obviously, we were going to probably talk about them. Same with Sinisterhood. We're probably going to talk about it anyway, even if this movie didn't come out. But like, if you can imagine the amount of alien-related video content that a Steven Spielberg movie generates versus that weird Lou Elizondo news documentary, like culturally, I think
more culturally,
we're going to see I think we're going to see a immediate effect. But to your question about, is it going to get us towards disclosure? I think we're pretty close to disclosure already. I don't think there's actually that much in the way of disclosure right now.
It is interesting how much of like the past 8 years, the idea of like aliens existing being more palatable to like a common person to where we are now it is interesting that it has a lot to do with media and a lot of like that theory of like, well, if you were going to get humanity ready for it, how would you do it? Little bits here through the media here until maybe a major movie doing this. And it's like, and Jesse walks away feeling like it's interesting. It's like, well, maybe that is how it's done. Maybe that is how you have to fucking do this shit.
If things with aliens specifically continued the same way, regardless of who was president, I would say probably that right now, if Hillary won the election that first time, that the relationship between aliens and fiction would be extremely, extremely nebulous. I think it would be like almost we're like doing, like, I don't even think Disclosure Day would have come out. I don't think that we would have needed the movie. I think like by now, if there weren't so many things going wrong everywhere around the globe, we would have time to talk to ourselves about aliens a little bit and how obviously they're real now, which is weird to think about. But it's like, even right now, we know almost certainly that the government is actually doing something with aliens. It's interesting. It's interesting that that is probably true. And I'm not like a crazy person. I'm not like out there. I just watch the news a few times. You know what I mean? Like real Congress
They
people
have programs like
people that are really high up saying, yes, it's real. Yes, we've recovered biologics. Like, and it's moved no chains. And I think it has only to do with the fact that so much other shit is fucked right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's another part of what this movie is trying to say.
It's sad to say this because it shouldn't be this way, but I know it's true. Is movies like this, directors like Spielberg, affect cultural change in a way that real stuff doesn't. And that you need look no further than the fact that Marvel started talking about the multiverse. And people suddenly got in their head, oh my God, what if there is alternate reality?
That's real. Bang. Yeah.
Like, that's been a thing that's existed for decades, years, centuries.
Universe.
People have talked about alternate realities, and it never really became like a cultural zeitgeist
People
thing.
trying to isekai themselves.
Yeah, and now all the Marvel movies, they don't even have to mention it. They're just like, yeah, that's from the multiverse. Everyone's like, okay. Checks out.
Oh, yes. The
understood.
Ever branching, infinitively branching paths of reality that we create every second by making decisions. Of course.
Everywhere all at once, people are
Loki's
like,
and Blade is in that one, and the X-Men are right here, and
literally,
here's
if anything, people are like, I love that idea.
Four movies, and here's the other bad Fantastic Four movies, and here's the really bad Fantastic Four movie.
It for some reason that checks out. That like it takes a movie, it takes something cultural to get Americans to be like, yep. But because American culture is in a dark way, world culture, we're like, yep. And then the world's like, oh, yep. And that's messed up, man.
If a big part of their plan, the soft disclosure plan, is to educate people about that aliens have like psychic powers and that they need to appear in a way that is comfortable to us, they've done it with this film. That's going to be part of the alien zone now, like probably on a much bigger scale. Because some people who hear about aliens, like I was sitting next to two of them today, two like little kids who were like very into the movie. Like from the beginning, the idea of aliens to them is like psychic beings that want you to have peace. Pretty good. And very different vibes.
That's a lot of the stuff we talk about when we talk about aliens, is that the message is always like, y'all are too mean to each other. And I'm here to tell you to be peaceful.
It's your lack of empathy. Yeah, your lack of empathy is going to cause your extinction.
That's like, I love that in all media. As a person who tries to be empathetic, I love the idea of someone saying like, chill the fuck out and listen to someone. That's great. The message of this movie, loved. The execution of the movie, I have a lot of complaints about. That's where I stand on this.
I think like Spielberg already did this once, where he like defined the aesthetic of UFOs. I think he did it. He was like the first person to update it since like 1950, and he like locked it in. Like exactly every trope was like, when we started this show, I was thinking about that movie. We were still talking about some of the people that are literally in that movie, like on this show all the time. We still bring their names up at some points. And I think with that pedigree behind him, I think that it's not I don't think this movie's like a zeitgeist changing movie like that one necessarily. Sure. I don't think that's really possible anymore for a movie to do.
Yeah.
Unless it's like the greatest movie ever made. But Challengers, but no, I'm just kidding.
You mean by the guy who made the potion seller YouTube video?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's their trivia.
That's a
there's a little
about the Zendaya three-way also was made by the guy who made potion seller. So there you go.
I need your strongest potion.
That's one of the greatest videos of all time. But yeah, I think it's not crazy to think that Spielberg once again is going to like, he went mining into the obscure and esoterica of current UFO culture.
Clearly believes this shit.
Oh, I know that when he's like smoking weed in his house, he's like listening to the Chilluminati podcast.
Alien movies in at this point. Like he has to believe, for sure.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah, but this one is like another one about like the real world. Right, like War of the Worlds and ET are like not about stuff that may or may not occur. Like, but the Close Encounters is like set in like not a fantasy world, and same with this one. And I think the fact that my dad is like, let's go see it, is a good sign for its effect on the larger public, because he doesn't ever know the headlines about UFOs. But like somebody says UFO on NBC News or ABC News, right? And he's going to be there because he cares about UFOs. And I think this is going to be the first time a lot of those types of people, and even some of the people who
exposed to the woo.
Yeah. And I think some of the people who still carry the notion of Richard Dreyfuss making his mashed potato mountain as the main thing. Like, I think like even they will be updated. I think this is like a patch for alien belief.
But like it's in a weird way. Like if you do take the idea of the consciousness, it actually answers a lot of questions the Close Encounters of the Third Kind posed and never really answered about like why he's being drawn and like all this other stuff. Like just like, oh, okay, now all that makes more sense. And that's the thing about like going into the woo aspect of UFOs. It makes a lot of UFO stuff make more sense when you kind of put the theory on top of just like, it is based on consciousness. Like that's the other part about this movie that I found that did cause me to think a little bit, because it did remind me, never mind the aliens being able to insert themselves into your consciousness. What if the other part of it too is like waking up and all this stuff and becoming telepathic or whatever means you can't look at anybody and hide anything anymore. There is no more secrets. Like what if the Emily Blunt's ability is something that like, because that's also talked in the UFO circles as like, maybe this is another reason there is no ability to hide it. Tom DeLonge, I think, talks about it at one point too. That's actually very scary because a lot of, people, everybody has their own personal like stuff that they don't want. But if I look at somebody and we can't hide anything from each other anymore, what's that going to do? Like, how is that going to affect us?
Not going to affect me at all. I'm the most honest person I know.
That sucks because Emily Blunt did a great. There was that moment where she's like, I don't want to look at you. She's freaking out. But it didn't last long, like until she was like ready to go. I feel like that would ruin like if that was part of all this, like a huge section of humanity would be torn apart.
Yeah, but I don't think we're gonna get powers out of this, to be honest.
No, but like just that idea of like telepathy means no secrets hidden.
That's why again I say that I have a problem, and it could be a writing thing. It could be a Spielberg thing. Like there's something fundamentally flawed about this movie that I just can't get over. Like again. Another great moment is when she has her powers, that one woman grabs her and like worships her. And she's like, don't do that.
Yes,
there's moments where it's like that
God,
would 100% happen. And like, okay, yes. But because we only have so much time, and they're breezing through this movie. It's handled in like
Steven
a really
Spielberg
weird way to
the
me.
Audience. Yeah.
And I was like, that could have been something else entirely. And we should have hit that point, but they cram it in right towards the end. And it's like, all right. And that's, I think, one of the problems I have with this movie. There's just moments that take me out of it that I'm like, I was with you and you killed it. And now I got to get back in it with you again. And by the time I'm back in it, you've killed it with something else ridiculous. And I'm like, I feel like there's some level of the way Spielberg tells, not like Schindler's List-esque stories, but the ones that are more for the family, where he just does this. That's like the weirdest like what he does, and it's just it's driving me crazy because it feels like Mathas was saying, the era we live in, some of the choices made in this movie, I'm like, that's insane that was a choice that was made.
Every once in a while, I'm like, oh yeah, he's a 1970s boomer lib. And he has this idea that this world still operates in this way that has now been proven it doesn't. But that's where I like the message of empathy should work stronger in today's environment. Personally, like that's where empathy is needed most.
But don't you feel like you're exhibiting cynicism when you say something like that's not how it would go?
Well, because it can't go that way because the world the movie is taking place in doesn't exist in the way that it presents
I'm just realism.
At the beginning of this, your point of view.
Exactly.
Literally.
I don't think we're being cynical. I think we're being real with the way the world is.
I think you're literally being, the definition of cynicism is that you're saying, here's what's going to happen for sure, and it's bad.
No.
I'm saying I would have, like Jesse said earlier, I think he needed to take a stand and like anchor this world in a world that feels like empathy is not going to work.
Then it does.
And then it should still work.
And it still works.
But this movie never feels like empathy is not going to work. It always feels like that's the answer. Here we go. That's always going to work. Never once during watching the movie did I feel like empathy might not work and they might like this is all going to be for naught. You know, no tension. There was no like I wanted like if you're going to mirror our real world and show that people will shit on you regardless. And it's empathy in the face of that comes out on
saying,
top.
Listen is going to get the response of don't tell me what to do. You know what I mean? And so,
but that's what I'm saying. Don't do that.
The movie then should have been when someone hits you with don't tell me what to do, you've got to still be empathetic to that person who's a piece of shit. Yeah. Like you still have to try and see their worldview and understand why that person's a dick.
Where they come from. And then her abilities of seeing their trauma would have hit
her being able to understand, I understand why this person is fighting they're being like this. Now we can talk.
Yeah, imagine that was what it was. Like, they're like, oh, get fucked, lady. And then she's, you know, like, we have moments of brief things where she does that. And the people are kind of mean, but they're not really super mean. And she says,
she disarms them and they're like, oh, shit, you saw into my soul. And then it's like, okay, now we can talk. And I feel like that's the message of the movie, but it's done in like a ham-fisted way that I was really upset about.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's a failing on Spielberg's part. I think it's a choice by him to do what I mean, if you've ever read a review of a Steven Spielberg movie, right? Over the years, his number one like criticism that people give him is that he's like Stephen King is similar, where he has a very saccharine or sort of outlook. Sure. Right? He just does. And I don't believe that he is missing that. I don't think he's like not understanding that he could do it that way. I think Steven Spielberg is smart enough to make this movie the way he wanted to, though I can taste them scissors. I know that I can see them scissors. I can see them scissors all around, all over this movie.
I must stress this. I don't blame Spielberg. I blame the fact the world is fucked up in a way that upsets me tremendously and has ruined Spielberg for me. Spielberg has always been Spielberg.
That's a good way to put it.
The world has gotten so insane that I can't properly enjoy Spielberg anymore because I'm like, well, that's not the real world anymore. Because the real world's gotten so cynicism? Crazy. I'm like
cynicism or pessimism, like that's to a T.
Like
you
that's
looked
pessimistic.
It up.
I see the world and I'm like, I hate it right now. And the fact that Spielberg's like, listen, love, do these things. My mind immediately goes to the fact that like, I want to listen and I want to love and I want to be better, but these motherfuckers are not letting me. Like, that's where I'm at.
You know, it's crazy. It's actually crazy that you mentioned Superman so much during this, because like, I actually feel like the two movies are like a pretty good double feature now that I'm thinking about it, like in terms of what they have to say about like life. And it's interesting how Superman
that Superman was so good because it had Lex fucking Luthor though. Like,
well, Superman is a good versus evil tale also.
Yeah, but like obviously, but he like hope and empathy is obviously Superman's superpower for real. But like in the face of something that refuses it is why it makes it so good. Like Lex Luthor refuses it, like on the grounds of humanity, but there's no Lex Luthor in Disclosure Day.
Don't you think that Colin Firth deciding not to go with the aliens and to just keep people from ever knowing and not going along with the plan that they clearly had to fund at one point together, where they built an entire, like, can we just say shout outs to Sam Lake? I feel like he needs a paycheck for this movie. Is that weird?
What do you mean?
What?
Like, they build his fucking her childhood house in a fucking warehouse.
Sure, that's pretty great. Yeah, I like that bit. Yeah, you're right. That's very Sam Lake-ish.
Like, in my understanding of this movie, the breaking of Colin Firth's badness has really recently occurred.
They said like
5 years ago,
3 or 5 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
So
like
5 years ago,
wife
but they'd been doing this since the 70s or something. In my understanding, this company.
But that's like what the dude, his friend, says is he was into what they were doing up until Colin Firth lost his way. So like that, I think, is the problem, is that Colin Firth never really was his he was just a guy.
But his belief, his like reason d'etre, other than his wife being dead or whatever, his belief is that he is doing good for the world.
Yes.
Because he believes that the world will not accept this news.
And the difference here, and I think going back to like the villain that Mathas was talking about in Lex, but even going back to Thanos, is both Lex and Thanos, pick your DC or Marvel, those guys believe what they're doing is good. And Lex is like, I'm an asshole, but I'm trying to defeat this thing that is trying to destroy our humanity. Like, he's mocking us by being better than us. And like that, like Thanos is like, I'm going to wipe out half the galaxy to save the galaxy, right? They're terrible, but they have their own justifications. His thing was, I need to stop this from happening, whatever it takes. And then he's like, screw it. And he's like, it would be like if the bad guys in those movies were like, Superman just keeps beating me. Well, all right.
Well, but he says screw it because Hugo's like, bro, I'm not the bad guy. You're the fucking bad guy. Your wife fucking died, and then you broke like every law, and now you're killing people to keep a secret that you shouldn't even be trying to keep.
I just thought he gave up because it was clearly too late. Like by the time, like he just sat down when like they took out the power, that he still was going to stop her, and then she's like, magical device of electricity, and he's like, well, fuck.
Right.
And then sat down and gave up.
That's why him giving up made sense to me. I was like, yes, this makes sense. He wants to see where this goes.
Evil number.
Yeah, but his number two he actually literally was like a killer. That guy, his whole purpose was to be the goon who kills. And I thought they were going to do.
But he can't think for himself.
The Rock. Spoilers for the movie The Rock. But the number two in that one's like, you're not a bad guy anymore. I'm going to get even. And I thought that's what was going to happen. Nope. He also gives up, but like, bitchy. He's like, no, and he marches off with his goons. He's like, come on, boys, we're getting out of here. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, he doesn't have the go. It's like, what's his name, Whiskey Pete, right? Like right now, that guy is like a bloodthirsty monster because he has a license to kill, basically, from the president of the United States. But when the Homelander loses his powers, Pete Hegseth is going to have even less powers. You know what I'm saying?
I understood, but in this world that we live in, they have established
that's like who he is.
Secret government organization will do anything to keep it a secret. So they are in a newsroom where, sure, the power's on, but it's not broadcasting live yet. They could have killed everyone in that room, covered it up, called it a day.
Right, but it wasn't the government. It was just one cynical man. That's the whole point.
And they could have done that.
Private company.
Cynical old man murdered everyone.
He's the CEO of He's the CEO of Vortex.
Right. So the whole fucking company.
No, he is the one who believes it. He is the one who is breaking the laws. Hugo worked for Vortex also. Like the whole point is that what he is doing is not correct. He is breaking from what he is supposed to be doing.
I just realized this. I still don't understand the MacGuffins. In that, I understand the image they showed us is they were part of the process that sort of embedded these two children. They're alien tech. We got to see on the operating table thing. Like, I get that. But the idea that there are three of them, I thought that at some point the three meant something. Like having because like they took two of them and we needed the other two back. And I thought like, oh, having three meant something.
I think they're more like phasers that they just recovered from crashes.
Yeah, they're literally just crash site things. But the way they set it up, it was like, oh, this could mean something. But they don't really. They're just items you use until they crumble.
Run out of power and crumble.
The MacGuffin was kind of a whatever it needed to be. Like he could do anything. Thing. It could make you invisible. It could really power things. It could mind transfer you. It could it just did everything. And then there's no explanation for it, but I guess that doesn't matter. But I kept thinking, like,
I mean, they do explain it. Like they put it in, like clearly the things that the aliens use on the kids are the same for stuff. Sure. So we just we just know that those things belong to the aliens,
absolutely.
And they use them to do science, like a mother box.
Three meant something. It doesn't. It's just there happened to be three.
They had three.
Then at the end, they still have one. They could.
Well, sort of. It probably burned.
I mean, the one Colin Firth has.
Oh, right. Oh, didn't that one also fucking explode or something?
No, he has it, and then he uses it to have one conversation with the dude, and then they go off to hunt them down for the rest of the movie, and it's never brought. Like there is another one out there. Technically, I think.
Maybe he just bodied him. You know, maybe he just that phone conversation mattered. You know, maybe he was like, "Fuck."
But also. There's the interesting part
he was like dying. He was like clearly like by the end.
It was exhausting him. It was wearing him.
Which was weird because Emily Blunt's character was suffering as well when she used it, but then was like pretty chill using it again.
It felt more like she was like interfacing with it and realizing that it was going to break, because when she uses it, she knows how to use it, so she doesn't fuck it up, and it's not dangerous for her. She can touch it with her hands.
There is like a weird thing if we're like the guy knows stuff, but Emily Blunt doesn't until she does. It's like, oh, well, now she knows.
Well, because she can't speak the language, but he's the interpreter,
right? But he understands the alien stuff. She doesn't. She's just feeling things,
intuitive to where he is. She has like a him magnet.
She's there to touch. He was. She's there to touch the people, and he's there to speak to the aliens.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's convenient she was on the news and she had a job at the news station. Otherwise, that would have been real awkward.
It's almost like the aliens
they planned it. Yeah, the aliens Manchurian candidated her, which is why I'm just saying conspiracy theorists would have been like,
she was a passenger.
Why her? What's this about? How, like, all the questions I'm bringing up, I can imagine the same people right now who do podcasts that are like, the conspiracies with the aliens would be the people that are like, this is a false flag operation by the government to control us. We're on the brink of World War III, and they're trying to, like, that's what would happen.
Aliens,
crazy.
Aliens can, but that's what I'm saying. We got to believe that regardless of what would happen, we got to let them know. We got to tell them. We got to see. If the aliens are there, we should know.
That much we all agree.
I have said everything that I need to say about the movie Disclosure Day.
I think that wraps it. I think no one's really like, I think it's worth seeing at least once.
I think you should absolutely, it's like a big recommend for me, but also like, this is not the type of like disappointing or bad that I think should preclude you from seeing the film. This is like, we're like going in on this movie right now. Like, this is not one of the movies from Rotten Popcorn. This is like a proper film. This is like a good movie watching experience.
Rotten Popcorn movies are like
that's like, you shouldn't even watch these. You shouldn't probably watch these if you're trying to have a good time. But this movie is like a real movie. In the same way that I would recommend any Marvel movie just to watch for fun, I would recommend this movie. And I actually think I think this is his follow-up to Fabelmans. Is that right?
Yeah, I think this is his next movie.
Fabelmans is like a 10 out of 10 career all-timer for Steven Spielberg I don't think he's even made a movie close to as good as the Fabelmans before or after Fabelmans. And that's a complete hyperbole. But like, I think for him, like flying his freak flag and like being Steven Spielberg, the director, like style guy, his voice has never come through stronger than in the Fabelmans. And I think this movie feels a little bit like the Fabelmans, but a lot more like his 80s stuff. I feel like 80s, 90s stuff. It has a little bit of Jurassic Park essence. It has a little bit of that, like, there's no reason to say that this movie is not very similar to Close Encounters of the Third Kind in a lot of ways. It's him doing a bunch of alien research, uniting it into a logical but largely fictional sort of like unified narrative that adds all the pieces together of things that you've been hearing about in the news and in weird magazines, and making it into a narrative that is like an entertaining narrative with like a pretty heavy-handed message. That's Steven Spielberg in a nutshell. Anyway, yeah. But there's a lot of that there, but also I think there's some richness, some Fablemans-esque richness in there.
Well, that wraps up our opinion on Disclosure Day. Thank you, boys, for rambling about it. We'll be off to do a mini-sode over at patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod, and we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. We appreciate you. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye. Patreon.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by I don't know who they are. There's two.
What?
Terrence Hill and Bud Spencer.
No.
Neo and Trinity.
No.
I don't understand, and I probably never will. Let me just tell you right now that there's two. Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield.
I'm telling you, I think he